Hey there, meteorologist Aaron Tuttle with you. As expected, the storms out across the panhandle of Texas have moved on in now to parts of Oklahoma out across the west. So, tornado warning has been issued already from the National Weather Service. We're going to get down to the details of what's happening out there in that part of the state and track those storms as they come eastward here in the central Oklahoma. It's going to be a long evening, so feel free to either hang out with me the whole time or check in off and on. I may have to be on the entire time. I may try to sign off if things don't look all that ominous, but we have some pretty volatile situation out there. We're going to get some damaging wind regardless, along probably with a few tornadoes. Still looking at a potential for a significant to strong, maybe even possibly a violent tornado out in far western, southwestern Oklahoma. So that's kind of what we're going to be watching for here this evening. So thanks for watching the live coverage. Make sure you tell your friends and family, hit the share button as you watch this, hit the like button on YouTube, Facebook, etc., so the algorithms know and they can spread the word, spread the love. You guys up there in Rumble do the same, and on Twitter as well. So again, it's going to be kind of a long evening out there. So that's what I've got going on here for you right now. So without any further ado, loading everything up here for you so that we can make sure everything is going good, and we'll get started. All right, so let's do, where do I want to go first? I guess we'll go the big picture here. All right, so this is the big picture with the radar out here in western Oklahoma. All right, so the area you see highlighted in yellow, that is the the tornado warning, the tornado watch that's in effect. That extends up into southwestern Kansas. There have been some warnings up in that area as well. Severe thunderstorm warnings, though, continue from far northwest Oklahoma down into the eastern Texas panhandle. So that's why my words were tongue-tied. Actually, got all three type of warnings out there. Down here to the south and east, just north and west of Childress is where the bottom end of this line is moving through up toward Memphis, and that stretches out towards Shamrock. And then from there, it kind of crosses over the border into Oklahoma, just south of Braden. And west of Cheyenne. So this is what we have ongoing right now. Severe thunderstorm warning north of there toward the Arnett area and Visay. So that's the big picture, is what's happening out here across central Oklahoma. Things are fairly quiet for now. We've got the dew point values that continue to rise into the mid-50s. Down south on the Red River, they are now warming into the lower 60s. Same thing here around Wichita Falls. So down toward Dallas, and then back out here toward Vernon, etc. So this is the more unstable air that's finally working its way in as this line moves in from west to east. So that is kind of the current situation that we have. All right, so let's take a look here. The main issue that we're going to be dealing with is severe winds, and then the other secondary issue we'll be dealing with, believe it or not, is probably a couple of tornadoes. And then after that, we might have some pockets of hail up to around golf ball size, but there hasn't been any huge hailstones with this yet. And the model data does not indicate we're going to get anything too excessive, so that's why we're kind of keeping it about that size. And so most of the warnings you'll see, this is right here, for example, this warning has for about 1.5 inches. So this particular storm is moving through Cheyenne, Strong City, Hammond, Leedy, and Butler. So this is the first severe thunderstorm, tornadic thunderstorm they have to deal with. Moving on in, radar indicated, not storm spotter indicated. So no confirmation with that yet. But it's moving to the, here's the kicker. Oh my goodness. So read that thing on the screen. What do you say there? I'm going to let you do it for me. I'll give you a second to locate the words. And yeah, northeast at close to 70 miles per hour. That is a fast moving storm. So that's why things have moved pretty quickly out there from western Oklahoma into central Oklahoma. Again, 2 to 3 hours is all it's going to take to cross the state. So if you're like in your car driving a typical speed limit on the highway from western Oklahoma to central Oklahoma, it'll take a couple hours. Well, it's going to take these storms a couple hours too. But needless to say, that is the path and the strength and the speed of this particular storm that we have here. Now, we do use these algorithms to try to predict tornadic development within these. And I've been playing with these off and on for the last couple of years. Right now, the probability of a tornado with this one is only 3%, so it's pretty low. If we look down the line here, the probability does go up a little bit higher. Let's see here. Let's go to this one. 23% is what this one shows, and that extends all the way down to pretty much anywhere along this line. In other words, the algorithms think the environment's a little bit more favorable down here, so it has a little bit of a higher probability. What we're going to watch for is to see if those numbers ramp up with time. That's going to be kind of our tip-off that we have something more serious to work with. But you can see these guys down here across the southeastern Texas Panhandle are a little meatier, got a little bit more power, a little more punch to them. In other words, the radar is reflecting more power that is detected, which puts these DBZ values up around the 60s to 70, which is when it turns to pink, purple, and hints of white in there. So that means very heavy rainfall, and usually in that particular case, for example, here in Wellington, once it gets up here, you're going to get some hail, pretty substantial in size. Anytime you see the white on the screen, it's usually about golf ball size. The algorithms did detect up to 2.25 inches. We'll have to see some confirmation on that to see if that actually did verify, but that is still going to be some big hail, and that's where the best instability lies, because that is where the best instability is for this southern end of this line. Now, the other thing as we talked about is the southern line has developed about to the southern end of where the models thought. However, it's already lined out into a solid line. So it's not a broken line of storms or supercells. So that might be, again, another thing in the bucket to kind of help us out on reducing some of the tornado potential because of that as well. So that is some good news to report, even though you can get the supercells embedded within that line. So just looking at the wind, let's see, Memphis. We did mention Memphis a minute ago. Let's see, the Weather Service is going to double check, but the West Texas Mesonet station registered a wind gust of 114 miles per hour. Whoa. So again, we're talking about wind speeds that are equivalent to a tornado, right? So here's that marker on the screen. That magnitude, M, stands for 114 miles per hour. And that was in Hall County for the West Texas Mesonet. So they're going to make sure that that reading was accurate, but my goodness, that's a big wind. We can take a look at the velocity data. We can go back into that. Let's see if we go back far enough. It may not be accurate. They'll have to double check it. But it did get hit, at least by this point, by a line of wind. The radar estimate on here is only about 65 miles per hour, but that's up around 8,000 feet. So that's pretty high up. So we'll see how much ended up being more closer to the surface once they verify things. All right, so let's take a look, see what we got for the rotation characteristics within this line now that it's moving out of Texas and moving into Oklahoma. So pretty good little mid-level rotation coming in west of Sweetwater. This will be the tornadic circulation coming in to the state of Oklahoma. Probability of a tornado with this one is still pretty low. It's only 2%. So we're going to see how these algorithms do in this environment as to see how well they can detect some of that more low-level stable air that we have to work with. Remember, that's going to be key as it's a little different environment than what we had before when it comes to this type of situation. And I've talked about that on my live broadcast the last few days. That Arctic air that came in really saved us as far as having a really significant tornado outbreak, like big time. I mean, it was like, whoa. I mean, it was pretty substantial. So that's good news. All right, let me see something here. 120 to 120. Okay. All right, so this is just the beginning of what we'll be tracking here for you. And we're going to go to the Roger Mills issue, county line from just west of Dempsey and north of Sweetwater. This particular storm out here will be the one that we'll kind of focus on for a little bit until the other ones cross over the state line. And we can look at the wind speeds within this as well. So we'll do that too. So the circulation feature is this guy here, this little yellow marker. Let me see if I can find you a highway. I think it was highway, there's 30 on the map. So it's pretty much right along Highway 30 and East Road 1020. So it's just about 2 miles west of Dempsey is about where that circulation center lies. Now, there hasn't been any confirmation of a official tornado on the ground, so that's good. But that is where the mid-level circulation is, and that's what we'll be watching to see if it ramps up in intensity. The problem is the radars down here are shooting really high up in the sky, so they don't really have a good low-level view of it. And because of that, it's going to be kind of hard to see if we can't get any lower level circulation center with that. Let's see, this one's looking about 8,000 feet. So between two radars that we'll sample it with, neither one of them is down around 5,000 feet or less. So we really won't be able to detect the actual tornado should one develop. All we can look at is the mid-level circulation and see if the strength of that is increased or decreased. That's a limitation of the radars. Unfortunately, in this part of the state, we're just kind of blind a little bit. So typically, the Weather Service, as a result, will overwarn to be cautious. In other words, to play it safe because they don't have the tools to see down low enough for confidence levels. So we just have to kind of infer a lot of things based off the current situation. So let's let you know how that works out there. So what we can do here while we're waiting to see some of these storms cross over and to see what they look like here. By the way, the storms out here in the eastern Texas Panhandle, there isn't any one of them, even though they've got little weak mid-level circulation centers. None of them are screaming tornadic, even though they are officially under tornado warnings. And I always let you know you don't ever discount a tornado warning. You always take it serious. But you can at least breathe a little better while you're seeking shelter. That radar indicates one either has not developed yet or has lifted, or we're kind of waiting for one to form. Kind of all that and above. So as we kind of wait for things to kind of get a little bit more active out here, because it is coming into a favored area, we can actually look at that favored area. So as we mentioned earlier, these numbers out here in green are dew point values into the upper 50s. There was, and let's see, I'll use this color right here. So there was actually a nice, cool, stable environment of temperatures in this area this afternoon. And it finally eroded and warmed up just a little bit here right as the sun was setting. So what this means is that these storms are coming in to a slightly more stable environment than they left. It wasn't much of a difference, but it might be enough to kind of help keep things as a tad bit on the weaker side, which is good news. Now, the flip side of that, this area down here broke out in sunshine and actually warmed up at the last couple of hours of the day. So this area got a little bit more unstable, which means these storms coming in here are going to have a little bit more to work with. Now that kind of jives with the forecast I mentioned earlier this afternoon, where my favorite area for a tornado, and for a significant tornado at that, and possibly even a violent one if things go well with the atmosphere, is in this high shaded area here in red. So that is what we're kind of watching for over the next couple of hours. And since everything's moving quite fast, we're going to find the answer to that here pretty quick. So we're going to look at a couple of things in the data. Look for anything updated here that I can look at or read to you. Let's see. So there's your, if you missed the graphics earlier today and yesterday, day before, this is the risk of severe weather is moderate. It extends all across central and western Oklahoma. Golf ball size hail, winds over 80 miles per hour possible, and yes, a medium threat for a tornado. As we look at the wind field, what's important, by the way, also at the low levels for tornadoes is to have a southwest wind component. And we have a southeast wind, and we have a southeast wind all across this area in southwest Oklahoma. So the air feeding into the thunderstorms are in right around the 60 dew point value in this region, into the upper 50s even north of that. So that little cooler atmosphere that we had in here looks like has moderated over the last hour or so in this region coming into the thunderstorms. Plus, they have a really good wind inflow. There's a gust of 43 miles per hour coming in to the line of wind. So it is going to be windy. We've got wind gusts up around here. Let's see, close to, looks like 40 at times now. Canadian County. So Oklahoma County gusts around 28. So it's going to get a little bit more breezy as the storm system approaches. All right, let's see. What else we got here? So this is a big picture. Again, the yellow is the tornado watch in effect, which means conditions are favorable. Overlaid on that is this dirty brown color, which blends the two, which is basically a wind advisory, so it's going to be very windy. And the little polygons here, the red and the orange down here is for tornado warning and severe thunderstorm warnings. All right, so here's a look at the satellite viewpoint and this kind of shows you what I was talking about earlier. You see how we have, in the early part of the afternoon, this little batch of clouds right there shift up to the north. This was that colder air that was just being displaced and modifying and get shoved from down here up to here. So it's moved to the north as more warm and stable air is taken over. And this is the new line of storms that's formed out here to the west that will continue to develop. Now notice the tail end of this. See this right here? You see how the storms are having a tough time getting going? So this is the tail end of that big dry line push. And look at behind you. See all this stuff right here? That is dust. That is blowing dust right here back behind it. So there's a lot of dust where the system is going to kick up. I think the last system that got us, about a week ago, kicked up dust and kicked it all the way to the East Coast. And there, some of the cars were covered in our nonsense that we usually have around here. And they were like, what is this stuff? If we look at the photographs in real time from the radar system down there in southwest Oklahoma, so it is a nice hodograph formation for a supercell thunderstorm and enough on the speed for a tornado. So in other words, a 0 to 1 kilometer has the southern inflow of, SR inflow of about 52, and we've got a storm relative helicity of 582. Now that is plenty of shear to get tornadoes. More than enough, excessive amounts. If we look at what is some of these composite indices where we can kind of get an idea as to potential for tornadoes and that kind of deal. So I'm looking at the 0 to 1 energy helicity index, and you notice the bullseye is down here in southwest Oklahoma. We're at that little tip of the corner. That's where enough instability has gotten in here, enough dew points and temperatures of 80 degrees to kind of get that little hot spot. So this is where, again, I favor that region to have a tornado develop in the next hour as these storms move into that zone. If we look at stretching and tilting of a tornado potential, that's also down in this area. Got a few more composite index. We have a significant tornado fixed layer. It also likes this little region down here, and we have an effective layer. Again, it likes this area down here, and we have the using the very lowest level shear in the atmosphere, and it still likes this area down here in southwest Oklahoma. And the violent tornado parameter does start here. Now the parameters are going to be goofy back behind the line because shear does occur behind the line, and the models don't know the difference between shear in a environment that we're going to have coming in versus one that's out ahead of it. So we'll have to ignore these, but we'll pay attention to these ahead of the line. All right, so there's just some indices we like to look at, just kind of see how things are going. Let's update this one as well. All right, so I'm going to overlay significant tornado parameter and updraft helicities. I'm going to take these off so we can see this a little bit better. All right, and we're going to step these through time. Okay, so we're at 8 to 9 o'clock hour. So what we have is, I'm going to toggle the helicities off. So this is the significant supercell and the significant tornado parameter. In other words, the best areas to see in the short-term model data of the HRRR model where it favors tornado genesis. And of course, you want to look at the middle of the contours, right? I mean, out here, yeah, there's some favorability. There's a lot less other things coming together to make that happen. We're going to focus on kind of the bullseye area. So there you go. That's real time now through the 8 o'clock hour in toward 9 o'clock. And that kind of shifts into central Oklahoma as we head into the I-35 corridor between 9 and 10 o'clock. Now, you notice what happens. We're still kind of in this bullseye, but do you see how the contours dropped off? So that is a sign that the atmosphere is becoming more stable as these line of storms get to it. And look as we go the next hour and the next hour, going through Tulsa and the next hour. So this still jives with everything we looked at the last few days. Storms are strongest now, and they'll gradually weaken as they approach and get past the I-35 corridor. So that's better news for eastern Oklahoma versus, say, western Oklahoma. If we look at the updraft helicity, let me see if I can put this on here, and let's do that. Give you little markers. Updraft helicity, which means some spin or damaging wind potential with a storm, and occasionally sometimes can be a tornado. You can see how the peak of this was kind of in this area from I-40 down to the southwest. So this was my favorite area for tornadoes to develop. Well, to get a tornado to continue in this area, it's going to have to get rooted, and it's going to have anything impede it. With the cap building in stronger, things can change and weaken. Speaking of which, let me go look and see what that looks like. Because I believe the data might be up. And it is. Okay. So this was the other thing we talked about as well. We have a significant cap in place that these storms will have to fight as they come in at the mixed layer. So if we look right here, this big nudge to the right, this is the capping inversion. Now normally we wouldn't get any storms at all in this situation. It'd be impossible. Very stable layer down here. So anything that's going to be left of this little punch line right here, this is all stable air from about, 1,000 kilometers all the way down to the surface. So several thousand feet up to here, we are stable, and that is not good if you want storms, much less very strong storms. So what happens in this environment is there's several things. The air that can transfer in this zone, really all the way up in here, because you got wind speeds up here that's close to 150 miles per hour, 200 miles per hour. So if you can have winds up in here that ever try to come down this column into a downdraft of a thunderstorm, there is a protective layer, this guy right here, a very thick protective layer that will kind of act as a pushback to prevent those damaging winds from coming down. So think of it like almost like friction in the atmosphere, and that may prevent some of the crazy winds, over 80 miles per hour. So fingers crossed that this helps, and fingers crossed that this prevents anything significant when it comes to a tornado here at all in central southern Oklahoma and northern, and it should, because of this right here. You have to have a storm that developed in an area where this wasn't so stable, and it was able to kind of maintain itself and ignore the environment that it's coming into to keep the tornado threat going. Once it lifts and the storm becomes a little bit more elevated, meaning instead of it being here at the surface where we live and breathe, it starts kind of elevated up in this area, then it's not going to be as robust. So it can work in our favor to prevent sometimes some craziness to happen. All right, let's go look at a few more things. And then we'll get back to the radar here in a second. Let's see what Altus looks like. Okay, so this is a plane that took off at the airport down there in Altus. And again, I wanted to see how the cap looked. And they also have a cap in this area as well to work with. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the storms as they move into that area. So let's go take a look here. All right, so again, Altus is right here in the middle of the screen. So this is the sounding I just looked at from there. In other words, they have a cap too that these storms are going into. So we'll see what happens with the data as they go into that little bit different atmosphere. But the flip side is they also have a little better instability. So it's kind of a catch-22. Okay, so let's take a look at this. They've moved over, crossed over from the Hollis area here just west of you guys. A nice little notch here in the reflectivity for this particular storm. So the tornado warning issued for this one. Let's see here. Also has some hail size up around 2 inches in diameter. And movements, of course, will be fast to the northeast at a crazy pace. Let's see here. That will be this northern storm. Let me track this southern storm here. That'll include this circulation feature. So we've got Dotson at 702, Magnum at 725, Blair 730, 1 looks like Lone Wolf, 744 for Hobart, 745 for Roosevelt. So there you go. So those are some of the communities involved within the path of this particular potentially tornadic storm. Let's take a look underneath that. I want to see what the velocity data looks like, and we'll see if it's increase, decrease, etc. All right. So we have a pretty good broad couplet in this zone right here. So your potential tornadic development would be right along Highway 30 here, which intersects Road East 1520. So that would be the potential tornado here, which is measured by Doppler radar around 4,600 feet. So it's just close enough to where we're kind of at the top end of the measurable areas of the tornado. Now the probability of a tornado in the algorithms has gone up to 47%. Earlier it was around, I think it's 23%. So that has increased. So the probabilities of this may be indication that it is going down to the ground. So we'll look for some confirmations here, either from storm chasers or emergency management in the field to see if we can't find out if we have had officially a touchdown. It's going to be very difficult to chase any storm chasers out there because it's moving so fast. I'm going to flip the panel, and we're going to split it into two. The little triangle indicates a TVS signature by the radar, which means it thinks that there's enough circulation center within it to produce an icon of a potential tornado. This particular case, east of 30, right along East Road 1510 is where that marker is. So that's close to the circulation center that we looked at. Now, we'll say this. The algorithms are going to have a tough time keeping up with the speed of the storm. If it's moving northeast, at 50 miles per hour or higher, that's quick mover. So these updates will be rather quick. It's going to be jumping large distances in time because you can only sample these storms every minute or two in that window. It's not a every second sample. It's not possible for the radars to sample that fast. Now, new technology coming in the line, phased array, that is possible, but it still has limitations of distance and etc. We'll talk about that some other time. All right, so let's see. Circulation center still looks pretty good for a very strong as a cyclone. Definitely potential for a tornado. So what you want to do is, again, for those of you folks that aren't from around here, especially moved in from California, and like, what is all this nonsense? So bottom line is, when you're in a tornado warning, it's always get down to the lowest floor, always in the middle of any structure in your home, business, office, whatever it may be, and ride that storm out away from windows, exterior walls, etc. You can put as many things between you and the outside as possible, and the structural integrity of the unit that you live in should be enough to handle all those tornadoes that are in the EF0 to about EF3 category. So those are what we call the either weak to strong to significant tornadoes. They are changing in differences. But once you get to EF4 and 5, those are violent tornadoes. And in some cases, yes, they can remove the walls and most of the building, even leave nothing but a slab, depending on how well built the structure is. In that particular case, there's nothing really you can do about it unless you've had a storm shelter built. The good news is they are very rare. It's like 2 to 3% of all tornadoes. So most of them won't be that way. So the significant the tornado probability counter has gone up to 66. So it is ramping up. The look of it on the radar has a nice hook echo appendage with looks like a little darkened reflectivity zone. So in my particular case, it looks like to me it's producing a tornado, or if it hasn't, it's imminent at this point. Now the location of this, well, I bet you it's going to be over. Now, that's the other thing I'm going to do for you. So I'm going to take off the radar, okay, put it back on. We're going to zoom into where the tornado was located. And you notice it's over it's a dry riverbed. Could be. Or it could be a wet riverbed. Depends on how things go out there in western Oklahoma sometimes. But you notice it's not over any populated area. Great place to have a tornado, right? So that's where it is. No roads, a river, and a little lake down here, a tributary. And that's it. So I will always do this for you when we look at tornadoes to develop. It helps to A, reduce the anxiety. B, realizes that if a tornado forms in the grasslands and no one's there to see it, does it even exist, right? So that's kind of where it is. So it's right now, it looks like it is going to be a bona fide tornado, and is over an area that is not populated at all. So that's the good news. Is south of Vinson by about 2 miles, because the next update that's going to kick in here is going to change positions here in just a second. So if you guys are in Vinson, again, you want to be in your shelters anyway because you're already under the tornado warning. You guys in Reed, you want to be in your shelters because you're under the tornado warning. And it may not be a direct impact from you, but it's going to be pretty close. This little yellow line you see right here is the general direction of where it will go. Now this line will update each track as the new data comes in, but this is the general vicinity where it's going to go. The probability of a tornado, let's see, the new algorithm's kicking in. It has changed to 64%, so kind of holding at that level. Still looks pretty good for this little wraparound situation. Now, I will say this. You see this rain going all the way down here. All right, so sometimes the inflow that this storm is wanting to pick up is in this direction, right? So it's trying to pick up warm, unstable air and feed it into this area. Okay, and that's how that tornado can get going and develop, get stronger, bigger in size, all that. Sometimes the problem is if this area kicks out too much, this ends up getting entrained in the circulation, and it's rain cooled air, and then it cuts it off and kills it. So this is going to be a balancing act to see how much this just surges in versus how much this inflow keeps coming in. So right now it's at a 50-50 deal, and as a result, it still has an inflow that's coming in. This is velocity data here on the right, and it still has a pretty good indication of a tornado in this area. So the circulation center is over just north of East Road 1510 and right around 1740, so kind of that little interchange. All right, so there's the new data that just came in. So this one has now jumped to East Road 1480 and 1780. So that's where the center of that circulation is. So the potential tornado is located there. Let's take a look here at the surface. Got a lot of noise in this data set. It's not surprising because of the surface. Just because of the winds and the atmosphere, actually, just in general, they're nuts tonight. So we'll keep an eye on that one for you. All right, so let me see what else we got. The one north from there, it's a tornado warning, but I don't see anything that stands out to me on radar. And then we've got one that came in just now for the Roger Mills area. So let's go take a look at that. So this is what we're going to have. We're going to have, if you live out here in western Oklahoma, you're going to have, and probably for the life cycle of these deals, we're probably just going to have numerous tornado warnings issued that may or may not verify. And I'm pretty sure the Weather Service won't care because it's a situation where if you get damaging winds anyway, up to a speed of a tornado, it's kind of a pseudo verification. And with things moving so fast, remember when I told you that the radar can only sample a storm about every 2 minutes, depending on what mode it's in. Sometimes it's 3 minutes on the lower levels. They can change it to about a minute updates sometimes. But the point being is a lot can happen from that one time at minute it hits it and the next time at minute it hits it. If it's moving at 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, you could produce a tornado in between those steps and never even see it. So because of that fact, you're going to have these warnings, I think, prudent and just to play it safe. All right, so with that said and done, let's take a look at this one. So Roger Mills, Strong City, their circulation center is right over the Highway 283 coming out of Strong City on 33. So that is where the potential circulation center is for a tornadic development. So make sure you're in your shelters for that one if you're heading up toward Leedy. And let me switch over here and we will do a storm track on that for you. All right, so that's Strong City, of course, now. And you have, of course, Leedy as well. And it says about 20 minutes. And then Toluga up about 8:13. We'll go to the one south of that one. And let's see, let's click on this one that just barely kind of covers the Sayre area. Let's see, when I looked at the velocity data in that earlier, let me switch over to this radar. Yeah, there's just wasn't anything that jumped out at me, but that's good news. But again, you always want to stay in your shelters while you ride this one out for Beckham County. Still going to have a little bit of hail with that, 1.25 inches in diameter. And do we have a thing to click on? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. What is a marker here? 78 mile per hour wind gusts. Okay. So that's the other thing we'll be watching for, is see if we can get verification on these wind gusts up around 80 miles per hour. So this one is some damage reported, but no wind speeds given. All right, so let me key real quick here. We are on this one moving to the northeast at 70 miles per hour. So there you go. Yeah, 69 miles per hour, 1.25 inches of hail on this one. And that's going to take it up to about here. So that'll be Carter, 733, Burns Flat, 751, Foss, 754, Cordell, 758, Colony, about 814, Weatherford at 816. That takes care of that particular storm. All right, let's go to this one down here. This is our one that likely has very close to a tornado with it. And that's back to Mangum again. At 731, we've got Hobart 753, Goaty Boat 805 with that particular storm. And then south from there, these have severe thunderstorm warnings on it for Hollis and Gould. but no tornado. And then down south and west, same thing from there down to Childress. So we'll just let those go because we kind of just focus on the tornado warnings here as they have the most potential for obviously threatening life and property. Okay, so those are the 3 tornado warnings we just covered. Of the 3, the one down south seemed to be the best organized, had the best inflow notch. There's that 75 mile per hour wind gust noted there. Algorithms tripping a lot of TVSs, these little triangles, meaning it's been harping on the circulation center. All right, so let me look at, let's go to potential circulation center. All right, so this one jotted up to the north over Reed, and it's broad, and there's a broad circulation here, and probably a little eddy here, and then the old one wrapped up in here in this zone, and that's East Road 1440 around the county line of Greer, east of Vinson. So that would be the old tornado warning with that one, and it just disappeared. That's good. So let's keep it that way. All right. And other thing to note is, if you'll notice, when it was in this area, it was poised to go this way. Now, if you go at time, look what happened. See that? It deviated and it went this way. So we're going to keep that in mind when we're looking at these specific tracks. Now, why we do that is because, again, this is the track with the algorithm's best guess as to where it'll go, and this is the polygon of error where it could go. This is why those polygons are drawn so large, because they want to make sure it covers everyone in the area, just in case some funny business happens. In this particular case, it did. So I did see, so I've got all the storm chasers going on the television stations, and I see that one of them had it near Hollis, a brief touchdown at that point when it was crossing out of Texas, right across the border. So I don't know if that was on the west side or the east side, but we'll at least say it was on the Texas border. How about that? Call it that. All right, so far, at least that's one confirmation briefly of a tornado out of all this. Let's see. With nighttime, it's going to be difficult. All right, so this little guy here is struggling, and that's fine. And look what's happened. Remember, the inflow to this is trying to snake in here, and it's having a hard time. It's kind of going to cut off a little bit. So that's good news. Let's see, new update just came in. So it's very linear along this batch. Leftover circulation still here. And let me see if there's anything aloft, because that's pretty weak at the lowest levels. Yep, that's good. All right, so particular circulation center for this tornadic storm is 1430 and 1850. So that's where this one's located. It still looks like it may be getting cut off, so it might, weaken or die here soon. Weather Service did issue, looks like a confirmation of a tornado in that area, located 9 miles east of Vinson, moving northeast at 65. Weather spotters confirmed. Let's see. Any other information? Nope, just 65 mile per hour on the movement. And the path is Hobart, Mangum, Cordell, Granite, Sentinel, Dill City, Lone Wolf, Goaty Bowl, Rocky, Willow, Red Trop, Brinkman, and Altus Luger Lake. So that is the path of this particular storm. So we'll go back to this path here. Now there's no other markers I see on the screen as to who said it and where they saw it, and how they even confirmed it. So we'll just go with right now with what was reported. Again, there's the path. There's a potential time of arrival. So it'll be within a few minutes of these numbers on the screen. Let's see. So between now, let's see, what it's almost 7:27. So about 10 minutes. It'll be in the Granite area. And moving to the northeast about 68 miles per hour. All right, so that is our one confirmed, according to the Weather Service, tornado in the state. Let me see a few things that we have here. This little notch looks pretty good here. This little couplet. Probability of a tornado is 34%. Honestly, though, I've seen those look much stronger and better for verification. I'm just saying it's, according to radar, it would be very weak. But this is the couplet, these two guys right back in here. And if we go over where they're located, what do you see? Some bushes, some trees, grass, pond, and a river. Now north of there is a little, could be a little farm site right here, maybe a little farmhouse right here. So there's one family, looks like, in the path of that, should it cross over the river and there. But right now, that is the latest with that particular tornado. So you guys need to be in your shelters, obviously, if you're in the Brinkman zone, from there southward to Mangum, and even into Willow. Be in your shelters for that one. You're on the borderline of another tornado warning to your north anyway in Willow, so you're kind of splitting the difference. But anyway, so that's the latest with that particular storm. And it's going to be curious to see what happens because, like I mentioned, this cluster ran out ahead of it, all in this area, and it left the piece behind back in here. And usually it would die. So if it's not going to die, it might only be saving. What's keeping it from dying is the fact we have such strong mid-level shear in the atmosphere. It's going to keep it rotating anyway, is my best guess, because otherwise, in this particular case, they usually die pretty quick once they get into this configuration. So we'll see what happens. But that is the location of the particular tornado, and it's right now is over a creek bed. All right, and that is again out there in Greer County. All right, new update just came in on the reflectivity side. Let's see about the velocity side. Nope, still waiting on that one. All right, let me see if the level 3 came in for that. I'm going to split the panel here. Okay, there it is. It took a long time to come in. Radar data had a little issue there. Missed the scan of the velocity. Had to process it. So, but that couplet is gone. It died. All right, so there you go. That makes more sense for me. Okay, so that's good news. Now, that said, you know what I say. Stay in your shelters until the storm's over with. Just breathe better that this particular tornado has lifted in this particular scan. And it may not come back because it's the rest of it's too far out ahead of it. And we'll probably look for a different area to try to develop. And we might be looking more of a kind of a QLCS type tornado event since the line of the storms has already taken shape. So what that means is we'll look out ahead of the line for these. Let me see if I can use something else. We'll use something like this. We'll look for like little spin-ups that'll develop along the leading edge, and then each one of those, as they kind of develop, can kind of rotate, because they'll go northeast with a line, but then they'll rotate back north. So they kind of do this, and they do this. They do this, and they do this. So that's kind of how the motion of a QLCS tornado does. So we'll see what happens if they start to develop in the environment they're coming into, because it is favorable still. There's still plenty of shear to go, a little bit better instability. All right, so there is a, looks like another tornado confirmation north of there. So let's go see in Leedy, and this one. Let's see on the... Okay, that was a long time ago. All right. So that was back here when it was west of Cheyenne. And then since then, it disappeared. Leftover, though, is southwest of Leedy in this area. This is East Road 830 and 1980. So that's going to be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles west of 34, southwest of Leedy. That's a leftover circulation for you. Again, stay in your shelters for it as well, just because the radar has indicated it was weakened quite considerably. I am still sampling, though, from the radar at pretty high altitude, around 10,000 feet. But the mesocyclone associated with that has dramatically weakened from when it was west of Cheyenne, like as in very fast. So the probability of a tornado, for example, is only 5%. To put that in motion, when we go back to when it had a good radar signature with it, as it was crossing over the border, it was up around, where's this one right here? Here we go. Interesting, 25%. So it went from 25% to 5%. So it's ramped down since then. So that's good news. All right, let's go. What else we got up here? Nothing for northwest Oklahoma, just a severe storm. Let's see. Mesonet recorded 61 mile per hour wind gusts. All right, let's go back down here. There's another 75 mile per hour and a 78 miles per hour. So at least we're getting some wind gusts reported within this. These are not tornadic at the time, just some big wind makers. All right, let me see here. So we're going to watch this area for anything new or regenerative around Willow. This is that old circulation center. Is located here just west of Brinkman by about 1, 2, 3 miles. So between Willow and Brinkman to the west, about 3 miles. The last known positions at 1920, north 1920, and just south of East Road 1360. All right, south of there. So this may be a favorite area to get a QLCS type tornado. QLCS means quasi-linear convective system. It just basically means a squall line type tornado that occurs on the leading edge of a storm line, rather than in a supercell that develops on its own with different processes. So the QLCS is usually much weaker, whereas the supercell is usually much stronger. All right, so this one, again, so far so good, behaving on that scan. Let me see. Okay. Probability of a tornado is at 34%. We'll just have to look for these little eddies that may try to do something, it looks like. See if anything comes out of those. All right, so officially we have 2 tornado warnings in the state. Neither one has anything significantly strong on radar, which is good news. Stay in your shelters, of course. If you're under a tornado warning, never discount a tornado warning, and just wait till the storm passes. Let's see, we're looking at 7,700 feet from this angle for the Leedy storm. Let me update the speed on this. Yeah, so it's just, even at 8,000 feet, there's not much of a mesocyclone with that one. It's good news. Let's leave that radar on that one, and then we'll go to this one. And then we put in this value. All right, so this panel on the left is going to detect a lot of areas of shear. on this particular product that I've selected. All right, so we're going to look for these little areas of shear, and either one of those can sometimes produce a tornado. Now this one is a crazy amount of shear, but I think it might be because it got contaminated in the data, which it looks like that's the case. Yep. All right, so we'll do storm tracks again on each one of these. Let me go to this other view. And we'll flip this back over to reflectivity. So this one, let's go, let's see. Last update for this northern one was moving, tornado confirmed a while back, moving northeast at 70 miles per hour. So let's do this one. So there's your communities involved. Leedy, of course, already happened. Sealing coming in at 803, Longdale 818, Fairview at 825. There's some of the other communities involved, just the storm itself, not necessarily the circulation center or what's left of it at this point in time. All right, let's go to the other one. By the way, big severe storm warning for this whole batch here. Kind of a drift to the northeast, and that's going to keep quite a few people in it just for the actual severe storm side of it, which means a lot of lightning, heavy rainfall, pockets of wind, maybe a little bit of hail thrown in. And then the other guy here is for our tornado center, and we're going to do this one, which will be a big picture. In other words, we're going to take this whole line. So that'll be Blair already happening, Hobart 740, Cordell, Clinton between now and 750, Weatherford 759, Hinton 811, Union City and Minco 826. So that's where it's going to start to approach the metro. So about 9 o'clock, we'll be heading in that direction. All right, and then of course we have the individual within this mess, this storm that had produced a tornado a while back, or at least supposedly confirmed. Let's see what's left of the center circulation with this one. Let's see, Sentinel 753, Hobart, and Rocky between now and 8 o'clock. All right, well, let's see what the, by the way, this was the speed on this one, moving northeast at 67. Tornado warning expires at 8:15 for this one. Okay, so let me go back and look and do some interrogation again for circulation centers. Nope, everything good here. All right, so let's take a step back. So this is what we have. This is a little bit of a meso-low. Looks like they issued another warning for this one. But this is a little bit of a meso-low kind of forming. And the trail end of that squall line continues on down to the south, and the line continues on up to the north. But because you're getting this kink in the line that kind of looks like this, what can happen is you can get these winds from the mid-levels of the environment punch in down on the back side, and so that means you can end up getting some wind damage where you have wind speeds in excess of 80 miles per hour, maybe, like we said earlier, maybe up to 100 in those situations. That's like having a lower end tornado, and you have 0 EF1 tornado ripping through, which will do some damage. And of course, if you live in a mobile home, that'll flip it and that'll damage it. So that's what we always say: you don't want to ride out mobile homes in these type of environments. And these storm systems, they just don't hold up well. They're not built for that. So that's what we have to watch out for. So here is a look at the Lugert area. So this is where you have kind of a kink in this zone where you might try to get a little spinach develop. for a tornado in that case. And so the Weather Service has issued a warning for that area. Let me see here. See if I can find out a cross street. Well, it's right over the town, but that's going to be East Road 1460 and North Road 2080. Let me see if there's anything aloft that looks better than that. Nope. All right, so this is what they're going to warn for here is potential for a QLCS tornado in this area. Even though the velocity data is looking very good, it could be where it maybe looks a little bit better the next scan. But it's on the little edge where you can have a little eddy, little vorticity center spin up. The old one that's past northeast of Willow is still hanging on. This is this little guy right here. So if this were to be a tornado, it would probably be an EF 0. It's very weak, but that circulation notch is still showing up on the radar algorithms anyways. Let's see. Where is this at? What's that? North Road 1970. And it's going to give me a cross street. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. There's 1320, 1 mile north of it. So that's the intersection of that leftover circulation feature. So the Weather Service, you see this little line right here? It just popped up. So they're taking this into account as it's going to continue. So they'll keep the warning going for this potential weak tornado in this area. Okay. So again, if you guys are watching out here in central Oklahoma, things have been quiet for a while, but that's about to change as we have this line quickly approaching from the west. So it's about 7:45 almost. So by the time we get to 8:45, we're going to have a lot of these starting to approach western Canadian County, out here to Grady County, the tail end toward that hour. And they'll quickly move through from Oklahoma City between around 9 and 10 o'clock. All right, so still officially 2 tornado warnings in effect, one for Dewey County and one down for Ouachita and Kiowa County. Let's go take a look at the Dewey one again. So it looks like they're going to replace the tornado warning with a severe thunderstorm warning because that just popped up. So they're going to allow the tornado warning to expire. There just hasn't been anything in here for a long time. And actually the storms have weakened quite a bit. Now they're still going to have some wind with them, but as far as reflectivity values go, they have weakened considerably. That's good news. All right, that just means southwest Oklahoma then and west central is the only area left to watch for potential tornadic activity for right now. So that's this mess out here. All right, the probability of a tornado is changing. It is now up to 55%. So that has gone up just a smidge from the last scan. So let's see here. So we have 2 little kinks in this. This data set shows it about 5,700 feet. This one's 6,500 feet. So these are 2 little notches here. One just on the south end of Lone Wolf, about 1 mile south of the town. And then we got this other guy over here. It's about 4 miles east of Luger. This little notch here. Both fairly benign, but this one up here probably has a better shot of becoming tornadic here, in my opinion. Low level though, let's see, what time was that? 3 minutes ago, and this one was 2 minutes ago. Okay, so we'll see what happens with this one, but it's still in the tornado warned polygon, so you'll still need to be in your shelters for this guy here. Let's see, this other guy up here, anything ever come out of that? No, it actually weakened even further. Again, good news for you guys up there in Retrop, just south of you guys by about 2 miles to the south-southwest. The circulation center continues to be extremely diffuse. So That's great news. It heads between you guys and Sentinel. Stay in your shelters, though, all the way up toward Cordell, south of Dill City, north of Rocky for that leftover track of circulation. And then the only one really that's catching my eye is this guy here in Lone Wolf. So this probably has a developing tornado within it, or at least it's trying to. It's pretty close. It'd be East Road 1400 and North Road 2110. Oh yeah, if I turn on the rotation track algorithm, you see that highlight right there. So I go back one. You see how it was just kind of something. There's that old Lugert one that tried to get something. It kind of didn't do a whole lot. Weakened. This one intensified a little bit there, and then intensified there. So these are the only two areas that really have any significance, detected by the radar algorithms. If I look at the cross correlation coefficient, there is no sign of any touchdowns of damage. But those are the two areas that had the most shear in the storm system. Again, this intersection up here, North Road 2120 and 2120 and East Road 1400. That'd be your potential tornado in that area, which is southeast of Lone Wolf and southwest of Hobart. Here's the wind gust around here of 62 miles per hour for the mesonet around Greer. Let's see, 3-inch tree limbs broken, power poles broken around Mangum. This value near Hollis, 75 mile per hour wind gust for the mesonet. So we are verifying between 60 and 80 miles per hour in that corridor so far with these storms down here. So the forecasted winds are at least verifying on this deal. All right. Man, nighttime chasing is terrible because it's just so hard to see anything. Let's see if Jeff went out. He was supposed to go out earlier, but I think with the he must be having trouble. He tried to go live a couple times. He may just be having some internet issues way out there. Usually Reed Timmer go live, and I guess he was too busy snow chasing. So I don't know what happened. Maybe he couldn't get there in time. You never know, man. Maybe his car broke down. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Oh, I know. Corey was out earlier. Let me see if he still has anything. Let's see. Yeah, he's out driving around. But man, with it being so dark, all you see is headlights and raindrops. Who else? Anybody else that was out? I don't think so. Let's see. Who is? Jody was yelling at me. Somebody was on YouTube, she said. Oh, Reed. Okay. Now, usually Jeff goes. We'll see if old Reed's on there. It's so funny because a lot of times he'll just do it on Facebook. That was annoying. Let's mute that. There's Reed. Hey, buddy. All right, so we got to turn that camera around. I got to see his mustache. All right. So Ree's out chasing. I guess we can check in to see if he gets anything. Okay, so let's go back to radar here. Alrighty. I laugh at his current look he's going for. It's funny. All right, so hey, that one that we were watching. Let's see, northwest of Hobart, south of Cambridge, northeast of Lone Wolf. That one that I had kind of noticed gain in intensity, it certainly did the next scan and the scan after that. So look how it kind of went to the northeast, so between Cambridge and Hobart. So this particular circulation that I had looked at a minute ago intensified just a little bit more. Probability of tornadoes at 55%. So again, stay in your shelters if you live between Cambridge and Moore. Circulation center on this one is coming across North Road 2150 and East Road 1360. Where are we at? We are over some farmland, another river, and there's a little farmhouse right here on the right. No major communities involved in the path of this one. It's in between. Okay, so that's what's going on with that potentially tornadic circulation feature. Let me see what else we got within that. Yeah, the rotation track just went through the roof on that. Those last two scans. From that's when they got my attention. I liked it for potential tornado development. And this was just more of a confirmation in that one as well. And we do have CC. Okay, so it did produce a tornado, and it is lifting things off the ground. So in other words, damage. So see this little blue area? That's actually the tornado. And if we go here one more time, then there you go, another one. So it did pick up at least a couple of things in its wake. So let's do this. What did it get down here? There's not a lot. It's dust. There's a lot of dust. Maybe some bushes, a few trees. There was a little farmhouse right here. So hopefully, again, these guys are safe. So there's not a whole lot for it to have picked up. But it did pick up something because we got the blue notion here. This little guy right here. So that's what we call a debris signature. It's cross correlation coefficient. Is a product of the radar that detects items that are not raindrops. So if it's not raindrops, it colors it as blue. If it's co-located with the circulation center, then that's your verification of a tornado. And incidentally, the probability of a tornado went up to 88%. So we do have a tornado that is occurring, is doing. It's hard to say damage, but it is doing damage. It's just most of it's over farmland, but it is picking up something. That could be anything. It could be trees, it could be power lines, power poles, it could be cows, it can be farmhouses. I mean, it can be anything that's just not weather related. But there is that signature that has been confirmed. So that would be our first radar verified tornado touchdown. The others I can't verify. Even though we had a storm spotter that said they saw something, I can't verify that was accurate because there was no TDS signature. This one, however, had a TDS signature. Okay, so with that in mind, let's see what else is going on. The one down here, Roosevelt. See if anything's coming out of those little niches right here, little kinks. Southwest of there, no. All right. So right now, the only radar truly indicated tornado is that one that we just looked at. If I go to the non-rotation tracks, this is just a long area of shear where you do find some development that does occur. And this is the tornado we're talking about before.
Severe hail detected.
Between Hobart and Cambridge. Right now, this one's moved another block or so. So that's North Road 2160. And give me a crossroad. Play nice. You're not going to play nice. Let me see if this one will play nice. Hold on. Hold that thought. Let's do this here. All right, let me see. So this is 2 miles north of Hobart. Well, take that back. These are in blocks of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, about 4 miles northwest of Hobart. All right, let's see. This would be East Road 1320. That's the road it wouldn't give me earlier, and 1330. So those are the crossroads with 2180. And of course now with the radar, it's probably moved even east of that. It's probably on 2190, and it's about to probably be on Highway 183. So I'd say about 183 in the County Line Road is probably where it currently is in the data. All right, let me go look at that vertically. Let's do this. Yeah, it's lifted because this debris field got bigger and more dispersed. So, for example, see how tiny this is? And then you go up, the next scan, it gets bigger and broader, right? And then the scan after that, now it's really diffuse and irregular. So that's the updraft. That's what's being kicked up at the bottom, getting kicked up and then lofted and then just gradually dispersed outward. So you still have stuff that just kind of hangs aloft versus at the surface. And then here the next scan after that, it's even more diffuse. So that's no longer a tornado signature. That's just a debris aloft signature from it fading out. We can do a track along that. And let me see if it'll show it to us. All right. Okay, so this is the vertical slice in the atmosphere, what we just looked at. So this is your tornado. All right, here's your surface debris, and this is the loft kicking it up at 10,000 feet. See how that does that? And then we'll go to the next scan, and the tornado moved to this location, or at least the leftover debris did. Because look what it did. I think what it did is it fanned down, right? And then some of it still kind of lingered in this direction. So pretty neat, huh? That's how you can verify these things. That's all we're doing is taking a vertical view of the atmosphere. See that? All right. And then you can even, sometimes it shows a nice little deal, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see here. So yeah, in this case, we had our couplet here at the ground, right here. And that tilts vertically in a fashion such as this, a little slant vertical tilt. So that is your actual tornado that goes up. So you see this right here is 10,000 foot level. That's why I say you really want the radar beam down about 5,000 foot, which is right here, so that you can really catch this tilt down the surface. This is your sweet spot for catching the tornado. Up here, it's going to be difficult. So that's kind of a vertical presentation of a tornado and the debris that it kicks up within that column of air. Let's see. Anything else? No. Okay, so let's go back to the surface. Oh, wrong one. This guy. You know what we could do? So the purple areas also indicate a little bit of hail within the storm. In this particular case, there was some hail close to the ground that came down, and there was some hail that was lofted up here that also eventually came down like that. So these storms do have a little bit of hail with them from time to time. They don't get very tall, though. That's 20,000 feet max. Here's one that's maybe 25 to 30,000 feet. So the hail sizes don't get that large when they're at that level. All right, the non-rotation track, we can also look at this for the Hobart area. So this is what it looks like aloft, and when you look at the data vertically. So it's not much. You know, we were looking at this little guy here on the ground, and this was what it represented, what the data radar could see in that product. All right, let's get off of that. Let's take a look here what we got to work with currently. Okay, so you guys are wondering, out here in Oklahoma City and central Oklahoma, when's it going to get here? I've said a few times, we're looking, by the time we get to 8:45, we're about in this range right here. So that's just west of, on the west side of Canadian County, and also up toward Grady County. So these rougher thunderstorms should be in this vicinity by that time. So that means they will be making their way from the 9 o'clock hour, from about this zone here to about this zone here. So from 9 to 10 is the traveling sweet spot to go through the I-35 corridor. Obviously, give or take a few minutes on each side. All right, so down here in southwest Oklahoma, I just took a big old gust of wind, man. 48. Oof. What does this thing jump out to? Oh yeah, I got that 40. That says 41 there. But my little anemometer over there said 48. Ain't them some apples. There it goes. I had to refresh it. So my Davis anemometer on the roof hit 48 mile per hour wind gusts, and it was like a slam. It was like somebody just came and just pounded on the window, on the wall. That was nuts. All right, let me go back here. Look at these winds down here in southwest Oklahoma. Okay, all's good so far. That region up north are good. Let me look at a closer view of the radar up here in northwest Oklahoma. For you guys up here in Alva. Let's see if there's anything in here. Oh, so the winds are kicking in then. All in this area here we see light blue. Let's see, that is about 58 to 60 where you see these light blue areas. So your damaging wind is starting to kick in for some of these little storms up here. But no tornadoes, so just some damaging wind. That'll move into far southern Kansas here the next half hour. All right, so we'll leave that radar view up in that zone. Let's go back to Oklahoma City. Again, things are quiet around here, even though I just had a big gust of wind. All right, let's go back to the Frederick one. Lots of little circles and things going on in this area. Looking at the list, nothing stands out on this radar view. Let me go to this other radar down here. Now just so you know, I flip back and forth on these radar programs all night long because I'm constantly searching for something. So when I find something, I stop and I talk about it. So I know it might be a little dizzying, like where is he? Where are we going? What town are we in? I get that, but I don't care about the town at first. I care about the signature, and then we'll tell what town it's near, and then we'll cover it that way. So I look at the data first, and then the rest follows. So good news is we've kind of in a lull here. We got 2 tornado warnings still technically in effect. Algorithms up around 56% of a tornado, but there's nothing on radar that I see currently to indicate anything on the ground. There are still a couple little weak circulations that are still trying to kind of develop little eddies on the leading edge. So this one here may try to do something. This one here may try to do something in the next scan or two. Let's see here. Right now, it's not doing it. But usually between scans, stuff happens, and then it'll go to the next one. All right, so remember that if you are under a tornado warning, your weather radio went off, or my weather app, AT's Weather to Go, Apple, Google Play, if you have that one, and it went off, and it says, hey, you're under a tornado warning. Remember to stay in your shelters until the whole thing is over with, even though radar may not be indicating anything at the current time. So I'll let you know if that happens. Meanwhile, what you can do is just, take a breath. So Clinton had a 77 mile per hour wind gust. I don't know, were they even in a thunderstorm? Yeah, they were. Not a huge one. Northern fringe of this little guy. 77 mile per hour wind gust. Just a little bit of lightning with it too. Not much. Let's go. What else we got? I can try this view. See if this shows anything out here. All right, so now we're going to get into the part here where the radar for Central Oklahoma will start using that a little bit more as these storms start to get into that range. All right, so let's do this. We're waiting for any potential tornadic development to occur. We're going to look at some data here real quick. Oh, let's see. Let's do this. Here we go. I want to do this guy.
TVS cell detected.
Okay, let's refresh this one. All right, updraft. Okay, so this Warn On forecast model, it's a short-term, high-resolution model. The goal of this is to aid forecasters on the fly as to which storms in the future are going to have the best punch with them. So if you can notice, when we start the program here at initialized at 8 o'clock. So it's got the stronger storm potential down here across the southwestern quadrant of the state. As we go, get back there. Try this again. As we go forward, let's put this back on here. It has, again, the signal for the strongest storms pretty much right along I-40. And bounded by I-35 at 9:30, so it down I-44 to Lawton. So it kind of favors this little quadrant around 9:30. And then we go one more forward from that to 10:30. It now favors like from the Norman area to Paoli and Pauls Valley, and maybe out toward Seminole, that little region, Pink and Little Axe and all that kind of stuff. So right now, the short-term models are favoring the most damaging wind potential. Is probably likely going to be in that little zone. See what else we have on here for. Let's do this one. Same idea. The stronger the numbers, the better the probability. So you see that? It's another way of visualizing it. Now, it's not to say you guys up there in northern Oklahoma won't get some pockets of damaging wind. So you see that, how it does kind of highlight there a little bit. That's Kingfisher. There's toward Guthrie. So there is some indication to be pockets of wind up there. But the data suggests more widespread probabilities right through the heart of Oklahoma City metro area, and then points southward along I-35, down toward Ardmore, North Texas for any storms that are still going in that area. So that's a pretty neat little product that we can use. We take a look at the tornado aspect as well. Now it's probably going to go with the wind. Let's take a look. Yeah, it kind of favors that little spot right there. Same vicinity. And it's not high. It's a 30, a value of 30, which isn't off the chart, and about in the middle of the chart. Let's see what else we got. Anything else? You can do low level helicity. I think I already did that earlier. Yeah. So those are low level helicity tracks. So in other words, your favorite region where you might get developing tornado. Short term is where that would be located. So on the data, that kind of favors this spot of the state, and there's still some tracks up here as well for that part of the state for kind of the stronger areas of the storm. Let me think if there's anything else. Just the composite reflectivity, what that may look like as we go through time. Let's see how it kind of gets really strong red Canadian County down the south. So very intense squall line type look to it. And then as it gets east of I-35, let's see what happens. This is as we get toward the Tulsa area. See how it starts to break up a little bit from here to here? It's starting to get that weakened look. It's a slow process. It doesn't happen instantly. It doesn't happen fast. But hour by hour, it starts to get a little lighter in reflectivity values. So anyway, pretty neat little model we can use. That only goes out to a couple of hours. I mean, it's not designed to go out more than that. Let me see anything else. Let's see, what time is it? 8:14. Let me see. Let's see what the HER is up to. So the significant tornado parameter from the HER kind of highlights the I-35 corridor from the south side of the metro downward, that little bitty thin spot. I mean, it's not much at all. But that kind of jives with the short-term data as the best potential for seeing something like that. Let's go with the reflectivity. And let's see what it does. Same thing as all the other runs did for the last few days. Stronger west, weaker east. All right, and finally, let's just go see what it kind of has up its sleeve for damaging winds. So let me zoom in. All right. So all these little brown areas are, as the model is estimating, up to close to 70 to 80 miles per hour in these little hot spots. So they're kind of peppered about the I-35 corridor. So you see, it's not a solid line of wind; it's just pockets of wind. That goes all the way to the eastern parts of the state, and then you get the secondary push that comes in around midnight or so with the boundary, and that moves on out too. So nothing's really changed at all on the model data. All right, let's go back to the radar view. Let's see if we have anything in the data. Still one leftover tornado warning. It's here for west of Alden, northeast of Cooperton, southeast of Gotebo, southwest of Carnegie, in this little vicinity here. Let's see. Let's go to let's see, let's go this guy. Southwest Oklahoma. Look here. It's a good little line, but nothing crazy there. Let's go look at the velocity data. Still looks okay. Storm relative. All right, we're just going to wait. Again, the leftover circulation that was in this thing is gone, but you still respect the warning, as they say. Nothing else going on. We're kind of in a lull of activity, of severe activity, when it comes to the damaging winds and the tornadoes, just so you know. We still have a severe thunderstorm, which can have pockets of little wind with it, lightning, rain, that kind of deal. But I'm kind of focused on that other more significant threat. All right, so let's go down here. So all these winds in this little shower activity is developing should be low-level jet wind. Yeah, I think out of the head of the line of new stuff that's developing off the low-level jet that's kicked in. The low-level jet was going to have winds up around 80 miles per hour anyway. And so if you look at the radar data here, we're at about 1,800 feet. And you can see these little pockets of wind here, these little eddies. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Does that mean anything to see here? All I'm measuring is one wall of wind. That doesn't help me out a lot, does it? Nope. Oh, let's do this. Maybe I can get something if I go back in time. Nope. I might need to try another line of this. Let's go. Let's go back in this zone. Maybe that might give me something. No. It's all this stuff up in here, this little yellow region. That's, you can see on this about 5,000 feet here, where kind of orange goes to yellow, all up to 30,000 feet. This whole section of the atmosphere, you slice it. This is all a south wind at, let's see, what does this say? 115 miles per hour. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. You can see it. If you look at you can barely see it. Like, see my screen where it says southeast wind at 21? Look above that little spot. You might have to put this up on your HD TV. If you're trying to look at it from your phone, you may not read it. But anyway, it says 114, 115 mile per hour winds all in this area. So that kind of goes to show you that there's a lot of wind up there that's not too far off from where we live. So it doesn't take much to pull some of this downward through a downdraft. All right. So we've got this little hardened red color right here, which tells me we probably have a spin up developing in that little spot. Yeah, see, now we switched over to colors and look at the storm relative motion. So that would be a little rotating development there. Let's see if there's any. Oh, and we have a CC. Oh, might have a tornado here. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say we probably have a developing tornado in this little spot right here. This is on North Road 2470 and East Road 1280. What's under this? Some trees. So, in other words, should there be a developing tornado, we'd be picking up some of these trees and tossing them around. And that would increase the tornado debris signature, which is this guy right here. Now, earlier I showed you it was blue, right? Blue is whenever it's full in effect and it's hitting lots of things and bigger things, etc. When it can hit maybe something like this, the value that returns is lower. But it has to be co-located with the reflectivity couplet, which is what we have. So we might be having a beginning stages of a weak tornado in this zone. And by the time the next radar update comes in, it may have already happened because it can happen in between. But from this data scan from a couple minutes ago, that's what it looks like developing to me. All right, that was south of Alfalfa. And let's see, where was I again? 1, 2, 3, 4 miles south of Alfalfa. 1, 2, 3, 4 miles north of Carnegie. East of the county line into Caddo County. So it's in Caddo County by a couple of miles just east of Highway 58. So that is a secondary, looks like tornado that has developed or is developing, at least based off this early look at the data. We'll see what the new scan comes in and shows. All right. 69 mile per hour wind gust down here south of Tipton. That was measured about 10 minutes ago. So when these storms go through Oklahoma City on the south side of town, down toward the Red River, you guys can probably expect widespread areas of 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. And then there's going to be some spots here and there that get more than that. So if you guys are watching Oklahoma City, Central Oklahoma, these are just now getting into our area. It's 8:30. So the guesstimate by the time it hit the west side of Canadian County was 8:45. So we are, I guess, technically about 15 minutes early from that estimate. So that means down here in the west side of the metro, say for like Blanchard, Newcastle, 7 being 9, it's going to be more like 8:45 by the time it gets to you because we still got another 20 minutes to go. So that'll probably end up being about your backyard when that happens. Okay, let's see what this radar view has. So Weather Service did issue a warning, a tornado warning on that little deal I talked about. Let's see. Ironic, but I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. The one that I had tracked, it actually fell apart, and there's a new one developing that looks better. Now, it may fall apart too. So what's funny is the Weather Service issues a warning not on the new one that's just now fresh off the presses, but the old one that we looked at here a few minutes ago. So that's why I was like, wait a minute. That's like what happened to my circulation. And it's weakening, but this one might be developing in its place. But we look at what was the debris signature here, and it moved north there and then there, and there still might be something there. There's a little bit of a color there, but it's not as, the pattern isn't what you'd normally see. But regardless, be in your shelters. The leftover position of this is, let's see, East Road 1250 coming up on, let's see, leaving 2510. And then this guy down here is new. It's right along Highway 146. And let's see, East Road 1260. That's just southwest of in Caddo County. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 4 miles southwest of Albert. Okay. So these winds down here in Hollister, these little purple areas to yellow, whoa, that's 95 miles per hour. That's really significant. Let's go take a look. Alright, that is not the data that I should be looking at, though. Where'd my data go? Let's try this again. By the way, if you want to understand how the cone of silence works on a radar system, this is actually a great explainer. Alright, so here's your radar. That comes up like this, and we'll put a little ball on it. A little ball right there. So, how a radar... Where'd my guy go? Where'd my little thing go? Did I lose it? There it is. Hold on. There it is. Alright. You punk. I'll try this one more time. Okay. So then, as the radar shoots out, alright, so you can see how the data kind of goes up in this fashion. So two things happen. It's a good visualization of each one. This is the surface of the Earth. So because the surface of the Earth is kind of curved, now this isn't, you're going to see it in this short viewpoint, but because the surface of the Earth is curved, eventually kind of goes down like this, your radar keeps going up like this. So as you get further away, the height here between the top of the beam and the bottom of the Earth increases with distance from the radar, from some, like, say, from back here. Okay, that's a good visualization of that. But what you can also see is the cone of silence. So the cone of silence is this dead area where you don't get any data because there's a spot around the radar that's protected where you're not going to get because the dish can only go up so tall. So the little satellite dish, it looks like this. Looks like a satellite dish. It's on a pedestal. So the satellite dish can go at the surface and look this way, and this way. But it is not a bird bath that goes this way. So this whole zone is the bird bath zone over this little radar site. So I don't know if that was helpful or understandable, but I thought that was a good way to kind of explain that. Anyway, point being, I was going to look at some of these winds, but the data didn't play nice with me, so I did something else. Okay, Lawton. Let's see, there's a 1 here. Small twigs broken, lawn furniture, or trash cans displaced. So Lawton, you guys are getting some wind going through. All right, so let's go back up here to this guy. Let's see what it's doing. So the old circulation center up here, again, there's not a whole lot to write home about. Actually, neither one of them. There's some enhancement of shear here, enhancement of shear here, but nothing that screams tornadic in that volume scan. Let's see, this one a little stronger. Might be trying to develop something in that area, but for now, not yet. But good heavy thunderstorm from Binger to Gracemont and a Darko to Apache. All right. right, so let me switch to Oklahoma City radar because now we're getting close. Now we're in the backyard business of what's happening here. So let's see what these winds look like. I bet you I'm going to have to switch over to that other one. Let me see. Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah, we're going to do this. Yeah. Okay. So these straight line winds up around 3,000 feet in blue are up around 77 miles per hour coming in Anadarko, Gracemont. So that's the measurement of the wind at a few thousand feet. It does not surprise us though, right? Because we've already seen that from other radar views about those type of wind speeds. Let's go to this guy. He can do the same thing. So these little areas of wind out here again. Yep, 85. All right, so tell you what, we're going to switch over to this guy. So let's do this. We're going to turn this one off. And we're going to switch this to Oklahoma City. So we'll turn that back on and we'll go to Oklahoma City. And then this guy, which is down here in Lawton, we'll turn that one off. Turn on custom radar for Oklahoma City. Actually, I want DOP. Let's see if DOP works. DOP does work. Okay, this is what I want. Oh, wrong one. Don't want to do that. Base velocity. There we go. Okay, I like this. I have different radar programs. Some are more visual, you guys can see, than others. I like the one that's a little bit more techie on the meteorological side because I can see better data. This one's more on the pretty TV graphics side, so it's a little more cumbersome to work with, but you can at least see things that I highlight over. So for example, remember I said this area out here in blue? So these are wind speeds up around 65, 70, 74, 78, 85 miles per hour. So obviously that's pretty significant, right? And that's coming in from this radar out here in Norman. This is a test bed radar for Nextrad. In other words, they develop new algorithms and tests on this radar. And I just pull up the access to it so that we can look at it. So what we can also do is, let's do this. All right, this will be the, oh, it's not going to work on this one, is it? Oh, it stinks. Yeah, okay, that's all right. I was going to show you something cool, but it'll have to wait. Okay. So anyway, we'll go back to checking out the rest of the details in this tornado warning that we looked at earlier, and we'll see if we can't find anything in the data on this one. This is the one that we have been looking at here for a while. Let's see. So there's like three little circulations. One here, and one there. They're all pretty weak. This one is the strongest that's picked up southwest of Gracemont. It's actually outside the polygon, but it'll probably be back in the polygon here in just a couple of minutes. It's kind of moving northeast. Let's see here. So it looks like we have a little tornado right here. It's a weak one. North of Albert by 1-2 miles. This is right along Highway 149, and let's see, East Road 1200, just south of 152. So 149 and 146 and 152 is where that showed up a little bit of a circulation, and so it looks like it may have hit something and then kind of hit a little bit of a debris signature with it. But let me tell you, it was extremely weak. There wasn't much to it on radar at all. See, it was right here, this guy, and then gone. Okay, so there's that new tornado warning for this guy here in Gracemont. So be in your shelter for that one. Let's see here. This one has a much stronger radar couplet with it. So there's our little marker here. So you went to the last scan. Remember that? Here to here. So you guys in Gracemont, be in your shelters on the west side of town. Let's see. Cross correlation coefficient. Nothing there on this one yet. So looks like nothing's done any damage. That's good. But again, be in your shelters for this one, as it might have a developing tornado here on the west side of town, right along East Road 1260, about 1 mile. Now should be jotting up to the north of you here during the next few seconds. Yeah, I like this scan here. Let's see, what time is that? Yep. Yeah, I did. It kind of jotted due north. So this is going to be right along Highway 281 and East Road 1250. So that is where your tornado would be. Right. So we've got, so we back this out. We've got 2 tornado warnings here in central Oklahoma coming in toward the greater Oklahoma City metro area. So we got the one in Gracemont. The other one that was kind of around the Binger area, but it kind of fell apart. I'm really not seeing it anymore in the data. It was only there for a scan. Did quick damage, by the way, when it did. That's what a typical QLCS tornado does, just so you know. But also, I do see we have a tornado warning issued up here into the Kansas border, bordering between Oklahoma City and Kansas. Let's see here. Do I have a preset radar up there? Yeah, I do. All right.
TVS cell detected.
So that's this guy here. Let's go back a frame. All right, so this one developed northeast of Driftwood, around Amarita, and north of Byron. So this is where this particular tornado developed right here. This was on East Road 50 and 2630. That little deal there. Let's see if it did any damage. There's nothing showing up in the debris signature, but that was a pretty good couplet. So it just may not have been anything to hit, but I'm pretty sure that was a tornado on the ground at this point. That's a really good velocity signature, especially compared to some of the ones I've seen tonight already. But it looks like it is weak, and it was only short term. See, it was really much there and there. So two radar scans, just a couple minutes apart, and then it's gone. It has now crossed over into southwestern Kansas, west of Walden. So you guys stay in your shelter for this particular possible tornado here. That is leaving Oklahoma. Good line of thunderstorms with it. And you'll probably get some good wind out of it too. Even without the tornado itself, it's got winds up around 70 miles per hour in that little area. And then we'll kind of keep an eye on this area too to see if anything else happens. All right. I'll tell you what, it is difficult to keep tabs on the entire state all at once. Okay, so let's go back down central Oklahoma. Coming in toward the metro from Kogar all the way down to Lawton and Granfield. So this is our little squalling to deal with. Let's take a look here at the winds within this. The Gracemont circulation is still there, about where I said it was last time, but it's shifted to the north and east just a hair more. Right along, it's 2 miles east of the highway. Let's see here. What's left of it? Give me a road. You're not going to give me a road, are you? So it's pretty much where this triangle is. Let's see, what's it over? Trees. And there's our debris signature right there. So when it went from the northwest side of Gracemont to this point, so basically it crossed over this area. It crossed over these trees and open farmland right there. So if I zoom in here, so yeah, that debris field looks like it was probably mostly just these trees that showed up. Anyway, so there is the TDS, in other words, the bona fide tornado area. Okay, so remember that earlier one that we had around Albert? There's the debris signature with that one that then spanned out. And there's still a little bit of a hook in here on this back end. So this still might still be on the ground based off of radar data. It's still west of Binger on the west side of town. So you want to be in your shelters for this one. So interesting. This is going to be interesting. Okay, so what I've noticed the trend here in central Oklahoma is that the radars are having a tough time with the velocity data because I think the environment, the wind field is so ridiculously strong in all directions. There's so much shear, it kind of masks what's actually happening. Because what usually in this case, you have decent shear in the environment, but you have super shear where the tornado is. In this particular case, we have super shear in the environment to where the actual tornado is. It's weaker shear because it's a weaker tornado. So the radar is actually getting blinded by the environmental wind, so it's not being able to detect the circulator wind from that small area. So that's why the velocity is having a tough time picking it out. So we're having to go with more of these debris signature deals to see if it did touch down, kind of a deal. So it's a very weak signature in the velocity data, which then is backed up by correlation with the debris signature, which this one had here in Gracemont, but it was short and weak. See, it's already dispersed. That one's gone. Combat that with the one up here in Binger, still blue, still deep, and yeah, it has spread out, but there's still a good core with it right here north of town, even though the velocity data is not all that impressive on this view. Let me look at another one. Let's see here. Maybe this one will show it better. There's the Gracemont one. In Binger, it just does not. That's impressive. Alright, so let's go over to this again. Okay, so you see these. You got this guy here, and it's gonna be probably this guy here. And they're very, very weak detection signatures. What's a stronger detection is the overall wind. This wind's here up around 70 to 80 miles per hour. Here's some 60s. So you're going to get some strong winds. There's 80 again. Come out of this batch of wind. Regardless, we're going to get these little tornadoes embedded within that. These little QLCS tornadoes. So we're still going to be expecting some strong straight line winds that come in to this area here on the southwest side of Oklahoma City. If you do look at just the track of these particular tornadic signatures along the leading edge, it does make its way into the Union City, Mustang, and Yukon area between now and 9:30. So that's the timeline. Now this won't be for this particular circulation because it'll be long gone, but any additional ones that may happen in this part of the storm would occur in that area at that time. All right, Caddo County line. All right. Yeah, so we got our two areas, this one and this one. Ironically, the probability of a tornado is only 5%. So the algorithms are blinded by this deal. All right, so this Spring Creek thing from Gracemont, you see how it expanded and then weakened. So the difference here is, and this is kind of like the trend, is you look for the expansion of the debris field, and then does it get stronger or does it get weaker? In this case, it gets weaker, so it usually should mean more fallout. In other words, a lot of the debris, even though it got dispersed, it's not so concentrated, which means it's just kind of eventually just falling out of the cloud base. So usually would mean the tornado is either lifted or extremely weak at this point. And there is just a very weak circulation signature at all left in that one. I mean, it's normal cases, I wouldn't even call that a tornado based off the data. In this environment, apparently that's all it takes. Down here to this one, this is a new one. Again, no official track warning for this one. This just developed in the last couple minutes. Let's see here. But it's a little circulation area. And this is going to be on Dutton Road, right just across the county from Caddo County into Grady County. So this is right over Dutton Road and give me the cross street. You can do it. All right, you can't do it. Tell you what, man. Give me some better roads. Ridge Road out here to the east. So it's west of Ridge Road on Dutton Road. That tells you where that particular tornadic circulation is developing. So as always, when you're in a situation like this, it's the lowest floor, away from all outside walls and windows, a bathtub, bathroom, stairwell, staircase, that kind of deal. You can use a mattress over on top of it if you want. Kids can put on, sporting gear to keep them safe. If you're in a mobile home, you're not supposed to ride it out in these deals because this is some very strong straight line wind, regardless of the tornado threat. Let's see. So, Weather Service just issued a severe thunderstorm warning to just blanket Oklahoma City for strong straight line winds. But you can see it's on kind of splits the county, Oklahoma County, in half. So it's the southern half. It does cover Oklahoma downtown, Oklahoma City downtown southward, but not northward, like toward Edmond, for example. Now that could change, but that's right now is their first warning out for that. And then back up here in northwest Oklahoma, it looks like we've got a new development for a tornado. Let's go take a look at that one. Remember we had one that tracked into Kansas up there. So here's this little guy in jet. See that dude? This is right along Highway 64 in Jet, northwest Oklahoma. So this little circulation kind of went east and then just past in the southeast of Jet. Now on 2720 Road. Now again, it's not much to look at, but apparently that's the way it's been here for some of these deals. Let's see if there's any circulation center. Nope, there's no debris signature with it. So right now we're going to call it, probably a very low-looking wall cloud. Might have had a funnel with it. So warning issued for that. But let me see. You know what? It might have just picked something up on the east side of Jet. So it's this little guy right here. Let me see if I go up. It's not at the second tilt though. It's just noise in the data. Yeah, I thought maybe it was started here and then went here. If we look at the velocity couplet, it was kind of on this east side. But then it diffused out over here. And this is actually a lot of noise within this. That makes sense. Okay. So we'll just say, back to my original statement, it's probably a good wall cloud, little funnel. Tornado warning, though, remains on it. So stay in your shelters if you live up here around the Nash area for this particular warning in Grant County and Alfalfa County. Heading go toward Clyde and Waukeeta and Jefferson here over time. Right now, again, the signature for the radar has weakened quite considerably. Okay, back down here to Oklahoma City. So what we're going to look for is this approaching wind monstrosity coming in around Pulcasset. This little blue area right here indicates 85 mile per hour winds. Let's see what I've got here for you on this little display. Let's zoom in. So there's up to 80. Yeah, see some of these around 80. So west of Amber, you're going to get some pretty good wind coming at your direction. This is right along Highway 81. So you guys out there in Tuttle and Yukon and Minko and all that business, just get ready for a little wind. I should say a lot of wind. I don't say a little wind. All right, so far, have any particular tornado issues? And In this data, I'm really not seeing much. Let me go to my other views here. They all kind of dissipated. So you might have one here, but that's about it. Let's see, it's pretty weak, but let's see, that's Harold Road and Jack Hollow Road intersection. Probability of a tornado is up around 10%, so fairly low. So I've watched those probability numbers decrease quite considerably. At the same time, we're getting these pockets of winds up around 80 miles an hour, and at the same time, we're getting some of these QLCS type tornadoes develop. So it just tells me that I can be able to see those very well in this environment. All right. So if you're in Oklahoma City, what can you expect? Thunderstorms. So we're going to get, at least on the southern half of Oklahoma County and down toward Norman, Purcell, etc. Remember, that's the northern fringe I showed you in that high resolution data, which indicated the best areas for damaging winds and potential for a QLCS tornado. So that's what we've got. That means the north side, like Edmond, there still could be pockets of damaging wind, but it won't be like a line. And believe it or not, the way things are kind of looking, it's almost like we're kind of split. You got this little split action of where you got a dead zone here of not much going on when it comes to severe weather. You have pockets to the north and pockets to the south. Let me look up here again. In this case, let's see. Let's do this one. Oh, it's too far. I don't want that one. Let's go back down here. Okay, so that area I mentioned earlier still has a little bit of a look to it for circulation center. And the Weather Service did put a track on that, so there you go. That does take it up toward the Minco area. So this particular weak QLCS tornado may be heading into your backyard here in the next couple of minutes. So make sure you're in your shelters. Comes up on Clayton Road here soon. Comes across this big creek and on the west side of the city. All right, so there you go. That's for the one little QLCS tornado in Minco. That seems to be the only one I can find you on radar at the moment. And that is the only tornado warned storm here in central Oklahoma. All right, let me go back up here northwest again. I want to see how this thing for Nash is doing. Yeah. Still the same. There's a little kink here. East Road 230. So it's about a mile and a half west-northwest of Nash. It'll come up across Highway 132 here in a couple of minutes. So it's west of that area. So that's a tornado warning for that one. And then you got one, looks like a new one. Yeah, this one just developed right here, or potentially developing around Goldtree. So on the west side of town. So make sure you be in your shelters if you live in Goldtree. For a particular tornado it's actually coming, not be going through town right now. This should be a wall cloud, probably a little funnel with it. Again, the look to it on the velocity data isn't all that strong. I don't see any debris signature with it, so that's good. Neither one of these has a debris signature with it at this time. So breathe easy for a minute, but still stay in your shelters. And I'll come back and take a look at that one here in a minute, and we'll see if it increases in intensity. All right, got to go back down to Oklahoma City. Again, these dark blue areas around Amber, east of 81, south of Amber, this little blue patch right here. This is going to be 88 mile per hour winds. That's some big wind. And then the potential tornado, QLCS one's on the west side of Minco. Looks like about a mile out of town. Let's see, what road is this? Let's do this. This is getting some heavy rain here. All right, where was I? Right here. Okay, the road west side of town. This is what I wanted. It didn't show up in the other mapping. Was Coast Street. If it can get still for a minute. 2820 in Grant or Gin Road. That was that last location of the potential tornado there in Minco. All right. For example, probing this data, there's 75-mile-per-hour winds within that. These winds down here, there's 60. Remember that little pocket I said around Amber that was close to 90? Let's take a look. There's 88, 84, 88, 82, 84, 86. So there you go. This little pocket right here is pretty damaging. Passing south of Amber. Now, Amber, you're getting some of those winds, but not as strong. You're shaved by a few. Still can get some damaging winds in your area, though. Okay. Any other QLCS tornadoes? I do not see. Right now, the only one. Oh, we got a secondary one coming up here. All right, so the one here at Binko is still sitting there. What's the time on this update? Yeah, new update coming in here in just a minute. It should be passing up in this area of Minco, 152 and the split north of town. So that's probably where this is currently. Once this radar updates here, the next scan, there we go. We just had it. So it did shift north from there, and it fell apart. So it passed from the west side of Minco, went up north of the 152 split, and then fell apart. So that's good news. Let me see if it had anything damage-wise, and don't see anything. There's no debris signature with that. This might have been something, I don't know. It's I'm going to say no at this time. All right, so that's this one. So still kind of keep an eye on this area, though. If you live, say, at Union City, for example, even though it's lifted and it's diffuse, just stay in your shelters until it moves past you. Right now it's kind of lifting to the northeast, so it should probably pass to the north on the southeast side of Union City. But regardless, that's that last known weak circulation center. Let's see what happened to the other one that was kind of there west of Tuttle. Looks like this guy may be it here. Let's see. Oh, get off of that. Let's go back to this. All right. Again, the blue area is now pushing east of Amber, is about 80 miles per hour. West Silver City Ridge Road, that's northwest of Tuttle, that runs east and west, and a cross section of CS 2870. That is where the last signature of this potential tornado just crossed over. So it's about to cross over the Canadian River here. It's a very weak signature, but some of these have been. Let me see. I'll have to switch to see if there was any debris with that. Let's go back to this one. And that product hasn't updated yet. A couple more minutes and we'll see. Alright, what else we got? Let me check down in southwest Oklahoma. It's been a minute since I went down here. This yellow area is up around 80 to 85, or orange rather. So that's some strong winds down here. There's a little bit of hail here, an inch in diameter, Cotton County, Walters. So just some good old-fashioned thunderstorms with some strong winds. Power poles broken, 3-inch tree limbs down. north side of Cookietown at the 277-5 junction. So down here, you're starting to get these little eddies, like one here. You might get another one soon, so let's start watching these guys coming in toward Duncan. Some of these little eddies may end up being a little QLCS type tornado. Let's see, anything else on this one? No. These little fingers that come out, little enhancement. There's so much wind and lift going on in this storm system. Okay, so listen, I gotta be honest with you. Because we had that strong cap in place, a lot of these are staying elevated. We're getting very few strong straight line wind reports, and we had, remember, that more of that stable air. So we're getting very few of these straight line winds, even though they're happening and they're occurring in little areas. It's not a big widespread thing, so that's good so far. Again, we do have a stronger area now developing in this little region, and as far as just in general, the last few hours, they've been kind of hit and miss. And then as far as tornadoes go, I've had a few little small ones, little weak ones. Nothing that was overly large or strong, at least in the data. We did have a couple of areas that were hit with debris, so it was obviously strong enough to do that. Okay, so let's go back here to Oklahoma City metro area. Let's see here. Those all kind of fell apart. They're very difficult to even track in here. There's still this residual guy left over here that's crossed over the river. It's just not much to write home about. There's a little couplet there in that data set. So that just came in. Okay, so this will be coming up on Southwest 89th West Street and South Cimarron Road. So this little QLCS tornado is coming in now into more populated areas. You can start to see the more houses in here. It's a little kind of a neighborhood community, kind of peppered about in this area of houses. So this is where, if we keep getting these little QLCS type tornadoes, they're bound to affect a few of you in that fashion. Yeah, the Weather Service just mentioned this one. This is on between Union City and Mustang. It's supposed to be coming up on 152 here in just a couple of minutes, and South Cimarron Road. So South Cimarron Road and 152. All right, so there's the newest update on this one. Again, South Cimarron Road, and there's 152. And this little intersection here, it's coming over. It just went over these communities. So hopefully all these folks here have been in their shelters because they just had a small tornado go through. Hopefully it wasn't anything significant on the damage. Guys, got to be in your shelters at this point in time. If you have friends and family that live out in this area, just make sure you give them a call, give them a text, whatever it may be. So this is our small tornado that's kind of went into the more populated region now of the state. It's not over open farmland. It's now getting into the populated city area. So it's going to have more targets as far as homes and whatnot in its path. Okay, so while we're waiting on that one to update, we'll look at a few things here. Let's split this guy in half. Reflectivity on the left, velocity data on the right. So that's now 59th Southwest, South Cimarron Road. I know my buddy Chad's watching. He lives right down the street from this. Well, actually, he may not be watching because he might be in a storm shelter. He better be. That's a little too close for comfort, man. Anyway, so that's what's happening with this one, southwest of town. So again, that's a little baby tornado. It's a weak one. But, hey, any tornado's a tornado and nobody wants one. Let's put it that way. All right, let me look at some other data here. Again, this is on between Union City and Mustang, like the downtown areas. Right along 152, just north of there. This is coming in between Mustang and Yukon here. If it still holds together, which it may not, it looks like it's already starting to kind of fall apart. The leftover winds, though, are moving kind of out of that zone we just showed you. South Richland Road now is kind of the intersection north of Southwest 44th Street. So Southwest 44th and North Richland is where this leftover tornado may still be occurring. At least some, you'll have some scary looking clouds, you'll have a wall cloud, might even have a funnel. Right now the radar data suggests that the tornado may have lifted. Let's go take a look to see if there was any debris with this. So let me zip up here to Mustang. Yeah, there was a little debris with this one. There was a little bit of debris right here. So it did pick up a few things in its life cycle at that point. Now, when it went up north, there's a lot of noise in this, so it's difficult to say if this is also still some leftover debris in this area. Let's just assume it is, because the radar did have a pretty decent circulation with it at that point in time. And if you look at the radar reflectivity, you can actually see a little bit of a notch in the data. So we're going to go with that it's still a tornado warning for this area, just based off of this look. And this will be coming into the south end of Yukon. Let's see here. That data kind of weakened a little bit. Let me look at also what else we got going on, make sure nothing's snuck up on me while I'm focused on that one. What time is that? Let's go into the radar view. Yeah, that one has really kind of fallen apart. Let's see what else we got. So there's some notches down here in Dibble. So you might have a little tornado here, on the north side of town. This is right along Rockwell Avenue. So Rockwell Avenue, 240th Street, just west of Oak Meadow. So be in your shelters for that one. There's no official warning, but sometimes these little QLCS tornadoes will develop really fast and then dissipate. So like there, the next scan, so that kind of weakened. So it didn't last long. And that's what makes these so difficult to warn for, because they're there 1 minute and gone the next. There's two little circulation centers here in McLean County. Now there's no warning on there, but again, if you're along leading edge, you're susceptible sometimes to these little QLCS tornadoes. All right, so let's go back here, Oklahoma City. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of wind with this that come in. I don't see anything else on this radar view for tornadoes yet. Newcastle, you guys have some wind here around 60 miles per hour. This little batch coming in from the west, quite a bit lower than it was earlier. It was up around 85 or so, and so it's been slowly kind of decreasing, so that's good. Yukon, southwest from there toward Minko, still all right. That leftover circulation, I can't even find it anymore. It looks like I'm just not seeing it on the radar anymore, which is good. Let me see if there's any debris with any of that. Let me go here. No. Okay. The problem is we're in the okay. We'll just have to wait and see if it re-strengthens. So what we're going to have to do is just kind of watch along. See the boundary between the red and the green? This is your boundary of your storms. And so we're going to have to watch along this boundary for these little bitty couplets to try to form. Those are little baby tornadoes that do. And try to catch them and then, pinpoint them down before they disappear. Okay, so this particular tornado warning storm, even though the circulation has ended, they're going to keep the warning going. And we're going to try to find the needle in the haystacks for you. So this guy here got my attention. This is the east side of Mustang. It's out ahead of the line. It's in this little area of reflectivity here on the back end. So this is probably developing tornado here, or at least trying to be. This is northeast of Mustang it's on the northeast of side of Mustang. And let's go right on the county line, South County Line Road. And so the Weather Service issued a tornado warning. Southwest 59th Street East. So that's the main intersection coming up on Southwest 44th Street and again South County Line Road. So that warning that came out of my phone was for the position of this potential tornado. So it's crossed over the turnpike. Okay, you see that little yellow line? So that's what just popped up on the screen. That's the track of the tornado. I can hear now the tornado sirens going off in my backyard. So it's another reminder. Okay, so for example, how this works. Again, if you're new here and you're like, okay, I'm hearing the warnings, what does that mean? All right, now remember, we're tracking something down here is very small. Okay, we're talking tiny on the map. We're talking the width of it is only about maybe 20 yards, maybe 50 yards, maybe 100 yards, okay, as it develops. And then you'll look at this polygon, which covers this whole area. So obviously this whole area is not going to get hit by a tornado. So if you're over here, like, around Arcadia or Edmond and Lake Hefner, and you're going, am I going to get hit by the tornado? You're more than likely not, because not everybody can get hit by the tornado in this polygon. Only a select few. Now right now, the radar algorithm's best guess line is in this fashion here. So more than likely you'd be close to this line unless it dies out and we have to wait for something new to form, which can happen. It could die out down here and never even make it in this area. So to make sure you understand what happens when you're in these polygons, you still want to seek shelter, but just know that it's a very small thing that we're tracking here. All right, so the intersection of this small tornado right now, Southwest 36th Street and Summerwind Court. So again, we're over now neighborhoods. So we're going to be hitting some neighborhoods with this small tornado. So you guys got to make sure you're in your shelters as this thing rolls by. Intersection now, South Council Road and Southwest 29th Street. Again, the tornado warning is located in that area. So that is the one tornado that we have here moving through and into Oklahoma County. We've got another one, another warning, I should say, out here again that continues toward Yukon. This circulation has since kind of diminished and became diffuse, but the warning continues because this is the leftover area. And just in case another one develops in that region, Weather Service being very prudent. This will pass between Piedmont and the west side of Edmond. It'll kind of clip the turnpike in this fashion here, like around the Highway 3 exit, kind of in that area. So that's where this one will track over. So be in your shelters for that one. Again, there's not much on the radar back here. It's just a just in case kind of a deal. Usually when these things curl into a purple color, it does mean that they were spotted and confirmed by either an emergency management or a storm chaser, etc. It's usually what that means. In this particular case, it says radar confirmation. So they kind of went against what they normally do. They usually have it red, and they only turn it purple when it's been officially spotted. I think because it's going into a densely populated area, I think they're just kind of doing something different or whatever. It doesn't matter. So just be in your shelters for that. If you live, again, on the northwest side of Yukon, and this is the signature for this one is over Foreman Road and North Frisco Road, moving to the north and east from there. All right, back into the one that's coming in the southwest of Oklahoma City, and we're still looking about Southwest 15th Street Coming up on I-40, cross section will be South Rockwell Avenue. So it's coming up on South Rockwell Avenue and I-40. So be in your shelters for that one. Again, what that means is the lowest level of your home. If you're in an office building working late, it's in the lowest level, the centermost part of the building, away from all outside walls and windows. Let me go down here. You guys down here in Norman, make sure there's nothing popping up. Weather Service issued, looks like a warning to take care of this little potential developing QLCS, this little blue area here, which is about 2 miles west of Goldsby, coming up toward I-35 here. So they've got a little yellow line drawn in. Let's see, right now it's not over any particular street area that's measurable. It's over this little open land with the rivers and the lakes and the trees. So the next closest intersection is going to be West Burr Oak Road and Santa Fe Avenue. So that's where this one's going to be, around Goldsby. All right, so then, let's see, anything else? So took a lightning strike here at the house, so we're on UPS, so hopefully everything's still going good. All right, let's see, so back into the metro. So we've got 3 tornado warnings ongoing for central Oklahoma. We've got 2 tornado warnings, well, 3 now, up here in northwestern parts of Oklahoma. This is the one around Medford, Pond Creek, Kremlin. In this particular case here, potential tornado here is located Highway 81 south of Medford on about 3 miles, Harmon Road and CR Road 950. So tornado there, so make sure you're in your shelters. North of Kremlin, one here on the County Line Road, and that's going to be around County Road 910. So that one's at that location there. They're both fairly weak in the reflectivity or in the velocity data, but again, seek shelter. And then this one down here, Wakamas. Looks like a warning here for you guys. The track on this one is around East 530 Road. And let's see, we got South Wheat Ridge Road. So that particular location of that circulation is in that vicinity. So make sure you guys stay in your shelters if you're in these polygons up here in northern Oklahoma. Again, nothing strong, super strong on the radar, which is good. This one here around the Bison, Wakamas area is probably the strongest, and even then it's not all that strong. But that's what's happening up there in northern Oklahoma. So again, south of Medford, this little blue and red differentiation is where that one is. This little notch here, that's north of Kremlin, between there and Pond Creek. And then finally, that other one, north of, due west of Bison, kind of between there and Wakamas, in that little spot there. All right, so we'll watch those as those try to develop. Back down here into central Oklahoma. So this was the confirmed tornado touchdowns when it was on the southwest side of town. Cone tornado was the report at that particular time. All right, so now let's go to this guy here. All right, let's see if there's any more indications of the tornado on radar. And I don't see the ones going through the metro. I do see the ones in Goldsby, down here south of Norman. These guys here that wrap into this one, this combination couplet. So that's North Atkins Hill Road, intersection of West Burr Oak Road. So we mentioned that West Burke a moment ago. There's the north end of Goldsby by about a mile, so stay in your shelters if you live in this area. It'll cross over the river here in a second. It's a Canadian River in the path, and that'll be in the south side of Norman coming up on Highway 9. Probably crossing over 9 and major thoroughfare is Chautauqua Avenue. So probably about that vicinity. Could be about a mile west of there, which would place it near, South Berry Road, where it intersects Highway 9. That's probably the best location where that tornado is going to go. So make sure you're in your shelters for that one. Okay, back up here though, the rest of the metro. This one here, that's the leftover of it. Is that Northwest 22nd Street? Let's see if I get anything else here. North MacArthur Boulevard and Northwest 23rd. That's the leftover of that one. I don't see anything nearly like it was before. I don't even hear the warnings anymore. This one down here in Goldsby again is probably the best circulation area right now, so you guys stay in your shelters for there. There has been some hail reported in Bridge Creek up to about ping pong ball size. All right, let me look at. Let's do this. We're going to close this one down. Okay, wind speeds, by the way, within this line is up around 65 to 70 in these little pockets of coming in. So you'll have 65 to 70 mile per hour winds. This little guy here is crossing over 77 and Highway 9. This little guy that came out of the Goolsby area. So that's this location for this potential tornado here. So you want to be in your shelters. In the data set, let's see, Oak Tree Avenue is where this location center is, and 12th Avenue Southwest, right along Highway 9, and again on 77 intersection. So that's where that particular tornado is located. Make sure you're in your shelters for that if you guys down there in the Norman and Noble area. Okay, back up here in the city itself. Not seeing those other ones like we did before. It's great news. All right, let me see what else I got. We're just going to keep looking at a ton of data so we can pick them out and let you know about them. Still, this is the strongest one and the most significant one. Let's see. It's only about 10 miles southeast of the radar. It has a very good view on this particular panel. Let's see what this one does. So is this one. It's only a couple of miles south. All right, so it does have a debris signature with it. So we do have an official tornado. So it has hit some homes and businesses, that kind of deal, because it's gone into a populated area, so it's the only thing that there is to hit. We do have debris signature, though, in the radar data. When I look here at the 0.9 degree tilt, so that's this area right here. And that did occur right over the 77 and 9 intersection. So it did hit something in this area and has now pushed it to the north and east as the track moves in this area. So again, it's a pretty fast mover. These things, when they're moving at 50 miles an hour, it's hard to track them because the minute I tell you the track, they're already northeast of the track. There's 36th Avenue southeast was its last position, just north of Highway 9 by about a mile. Again, cross section, 36th Avenue southeast and Highway 9. So that was the last look of where that particular storm was located on the radar. Let's switch over to okay, so that right now is the only real tornadic signature that we're looking at, that we're tracking. So again, through the heart of the metro right now, that was the good news. We'll look at a different radar view. A lot of wind, of course, within this. I can still hear tornado warnings going off in the distance. So they've kicked back up. Let's see here. All right, so this is the newest data for this one. Looks like the Weather Service may have had an issue with their radar data getting a bump from lightning, but the newest data that came in here, we're at 48th Avenue Southeast and East Alameda Street. So that's the intersection, the last known intersection of where this tornado has crossed over. Again, north of Highway 9 by about 2 miles. This is east of southeast side of Norman, moving up to the north and east. Incidentally, not even that it matters, probability of a tornado was at 48%. Does have a debris ball with it, though, in that area. So we do have confirmation with the radar algorithms that that is the case. Wind speeds on this, 88 mile per hour inbound, 97 mile per hour outbound. So again, we're probably looking at an EF1 tornado in this particular case. Let's see. All right, as we look at the areas up here in the north of town, I know you're hearing the sound, the sirens going off in probably Edmond, the Village, etc., Arcadia, all that kind of deal. You are officially under a tornado warning, but just right now there is nothing showing up in the data as far as the location of a tornado. But the tornado warnings remain in effect. So in other words, the prior circulation centers did kind of vanish off the radar, which means they weakened. So there hasn't been anything we could find since then. Right now, the only one that has developed and has been easily to track is down here in the Norman area, in this area down here, southeast side of the metro. So for example, we can look at this value here. Oh, let's do this one. Let's do this. All right, so we look at that debris signature, right, that I'm talking about east of Norman. And so that's this area right here that's come up to about 5,000 feet. So there's our confirmation that we did have a tornado. It did kick up some debris, and it's been lifted aloft, and that's over this area here. All right, so it has wrapped up quite substantially in this area. And this is, let's see, 84th Avenue Northeast, intersection of East Tecumseh Road. So that is the location of this tornado, kind of that intersection of 84th Avenue Northeast and East Tecumseh Road. That is where your tornado is located. Now this one is much stronger signature. You see how even on our kind of our tornado detector, it's in the pink here. We haven't seen that all night. So this has been the strongest signature that we've seen on radar all day for a tornadic event. And even the structure to it has that supercell type look to it. So this has taken advantage of the environment here and has produced a significant tornado, probably a strong tornado, probably in the EF2 category as far as strength goes for this particular tornado based off the data. So we are still hitting, obviously, a lot of items in here that can get lofted up by the radar. So it's not all homes anymore. This area is much lightly less populated with a lot more trees. So odds are a lot of it's going to be trees that are lofted up in the debris signature. And there still are some homes kind of peppered within, but it's not a densely populated city area like it was earlier on a few minutes ago. So that's kind of the change in this location for right now. So again, stay in your shelters. If you guys live on the east side of Norman, we're going to have winds again kicking through the metro at this point in time. Speeds anywhere from 40 to 50 miles an hour. You're going to hear it kind of windy out there. All right, so what we're going to do is a storm track on this again. We've kind of been taking it, moment by moment, giving you intersection by intersection. But again, we're looking big picture here at, Bethel Acres, Shawnee, Johnson, Meeker, and Prague coming up between now and about 10:20, assuming that this tornado still continues. Probability of a tornado has gone up to about 49%, and obviously, in hindsight, it really should say 100%, right? But again, these are just algorithms to kind of guide you. Movement on this, as we talked about, it's been pretty strong, pretty fast. This one not nearly as fast as the others. It's about at 45 miles per hour versus 60 or 70 like we had before. So again, stay in your shelters if you live in this area, east side of Norman. You can see these strong winds, which I will pixel query these, around 120 mile per hour winds, 130 mile per hour winds. All right, so that's a very strong tornado. That is, again, in the EF2 category. If you do look at, let's see, I'll just close that. Oh, let me do something here. No, where's what I want? Maybe this one. No, we'll do this. All right. This thing's don't want to fit on me here. There we go. What I wanted. I closed the window. I wanted to show you. My mouse clicked the wrong button. So let me load that back up, if it does. Seems to be a little angry at the moment. All right, so while that's loading, again, wind speeds up here around 120 miles per hour, and that obviously is going to do some damage in that particular case. This last known area, east of Hall Park, by the way, so we're looking at, again, Tecumseh. So let's go again toward Bethel Acres here about 9:52, Shawnee around 10, Johnson around 10:09, assuming that this storm still kind of holds its own in that area. Let's see here. So East Tecumseh Road was the last known intersection on this data point in 96th Avenue Northeast. When the new one comes in, it'll be north and east from there. All right, this is what I wanted to show you earlier. All right, here we go. So EF2. The EF2 tornado was wind speeds of around 111 to 135 miles per hour. So that's considerable damage. Roofs torn off, well-constructed homes shifted off their foundation, mobile homes completely destroyed, large trees snapped or uprooted, and cars can be tossed. So this is why I wanted to bring that up, kind of show you, give you an idea what that looks like. So again, if you look here, this is what's left of a mobile home. You don't want to ride those out in a mobile home. You see this home right here, though? Well-built home. You see this? This is an EF2 tornado. Yes, you still have structural damage on the top and sides, but it's built well and the home is still standing. So just want to put this out there. That way, you know, as you understand when you seek shelter of what happens in these situations. Okay, so let's go back here to the radar. Let me look to see anything else here in the metro. Haven't forgotten about you guys in northern Oklahoma. We'll get back there just a second here. Again, wind speeds here ridiculous, coming in on the south side of central Oklahoma here for the metro area. Okay, so let's go back up here to the north and west. Let me see how you guys are faring. All right, so that little guy here that came out of Medford is still little circulation associated with it, coming toward Bremen, north of Deer Creek in this region, not Deer Creek here in Oklahoma City, but Deer Creek up here north on Highway 11 and the county road and 156th Street. So that's your circulation center up here, Johnson Road and county, let's see, just moved up. So Johnson Road and county road 1100. So that's one tornado there, likely tornado that is. And then stretching back down south, these other ones have fallen apart. Not really anything to talk about on those. There might be a new one trying to develop here south of Fairmont. So we'll see what happens there. But all right, but nothing that's strong or significant like it was down here in Oklahoma City. So I want to see what's going on up there. All right, so stay in your shelters if you have a tornado polygon warning underneath that you're into. All right, so let's go back down here to near Pink. All right, so northwest of Pink. So this particular tornadic storm is approaching the Dale area west of Bethel Acres, northwest of Pink. The last known roads we have here on this new update that came in just a moment ago is southeastern 149th Street and South Peebly Road. So that is the location of this particular tornadic signature. If we look under the radar, there are obviously still a lot of trees in here. And there are a few homes kind of peppered out and about. So it's still hitting some neighborhoods in this densely populated area of trees. So we're still going to have probably a pretty good debris signature with this as a result. Let me see if anything else is showing up down south. Not at this time. So this is the one and only tornadic storm to focus on. All right, taking a lot of power bumps here, but so far we're still running. But if I drop off, you'll know why. Let's see. Let's go to the radar update on this one. Let's read the wording. Let's see here. So it's a tornado warning until 10:15. Storm located over southeastern Oklahoma City or over Stella, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. Radar indicated tornado. In other words, no spotters have seen this, but they don't need to with the winds that we've estimated. Obviously, mobile homes will be destroyed, and there'll be damage to roof, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. Locations include southeastern Oklahoma City, Shawnee, Choctaw, Hera, McLeod, Prague, Pink, Binker, Davenport, Johnson, Sparks, Dale, Newalla, Bethel Acres, Idelot, and Central View. Includes Interstate 40 between mile markers 168 and 199. So that's a big warning coverage. A lot of people in this area. Let's go back to the details here. Okay. So there's a path here that's going to take just the track of the tornadic circulation. So that's Meeker, Johnson, between now and, let's see, right before 10 o'clock. Prey come up at 10:11. Boley come up about 10:20, 10:23. Of course, there's little communities in between here and there, but those are the major towns or cities in the path to be taking shelter of. Let's look at some of the data that we have. Okay, well that's happening with that. All right, so this passed very near the Twin Lakes radar site. So very close to the National Weather Service radar. Winds have come down considerably in this area. It's not as spun up as it was a moment ago. So the location on this one is still south of I-40, or southeast 119th Street and 180th Avenue. Coming up on, I believe that's another county line road there. Runs north out of Pink. So that's the location of what's left of that circulation center. So it has weakened considerably from what it was a moment ago. There's still, you're going to take this seriously though, as though it's still producing a tornado, even though right now it looks like things have improved dramatically with the strength of the circulation. I'm looking for the debris signature and it's just not there anymore like it was. So my estimation based off of radar is probably lifted at this point. And if anything, it's a wall cloud with possibly a little bit of a funnel, finger funnel, but that's about it. So the strong tornado that it did have looks like it's lifted. So that's good news. The rest of these are just severe thunderstorm warnings. And then, of course, you have the ones up there in northern Oklahoma we looked at a minute ago. We can go back and look at that again. Just want to make sure everything down here is copacetic. That Paws Valley stuff looks a little interesting, so we're going to go back down and look at that as well. All right, just want to make sure that we're good here. I'm going to put this into motion. was. I'm asking a lot. I had too many things open. All right, let's go back here to this one, 341. All right, so still has a lot of straight line RFD wind with it. That's what this orange area shows. And this orange area is up around 88 miles per hour. Now, that's a lot better than we saw earlier, which is, what, 120? So, but still, this is still damaging wind area. This is all just the north end of Pink. So about 2 miles north of town as we get into this orange area. So it's kind of the southern fringe of this is right around Waco Road. East-west Waco Road, north of there. As you head toward Bethel Acres, and then Clear Pond Road, you've got Patterson Road, Lake Road, South Pottawatomie Road. All you guys are getting some straight line winds up around 80 plus. Coming up toward McLeod, Dale, Shawnee here soon. Now again, the winds down here that may hit Shawnee seem to be a lot weaker. They're up around 60. So there's this little pocket here, the residual from closer to the tornadoes where they're going to be the strongest. So McLeod, you're kind of in that zone of where the tornado was located. So you want to be in your shelters. Same thing with you guys around Dale. Just kind of hang out there
TVS cell detected.
until it's over with. All right, so let me see what else we got. I'm going to go back to... Let's switch this one over. By the way, on this map, if you look back, do you see all these little signs here? These are all wind gusts. All damage report wind gusts peppered through this whole quadrant of Texas and southwest Oklahoma. Okay, so let me back in here, and let me look down the line. Let's see here. All right, so this particular tornadic circulation is showing up a little bit better. This is right along I-40. So see how it kind of, there wasn't much to it right there? And then look at this new scan here. So they're trying to get back together again. I-40 and Fish Market Road, just east of there, is where this couplet is redeveloping. We'll see if it tightens up. That'll pass again between McLeod and Dale, so stay in your shelters. Coming up on North Arena Road and Arena Road, so that'll be where that particular tornadic circulation would move. So this is a new change here in just the last couple of minutes. There's a rotation signature showing up, really bright red. If you go back a scan, see how there was nothing there. So this will be a new tornadic development from the old circulation center in that area. Wind speed's up around 100 now and 17 miles per hour showing up on radar. Let's get that over to this guy here. Let's see what we have. So this is again Southeast 74th. There's State Highway 102, and of course there's I-40. So this is the new circulation center that we're looking at. This is a residual of the old one that kind of tightened back up again. The data within this, 113 mile per hour winds here in this spot. So again, we probably might be doing some more damage. We'll look for the cross correlation coefficient number to change, and we'll see if that changes in the newer updates. Alright, so we'll see how that goes. Let me look up here. Okay, so this warning is long gone, expired, just didn't drop off the screen. So we're still looking only at this guy here for anything potentially tornadic. So we're watching you guys out there in Shawnee. Getting here and get some straight line winds with this. We're watching for the potential tornado, though, northwest of you toward Dale. Nothing tornadic in your area. But again, you do have some winds that are here in the pink area, which up around 60 miles per hour. This orange area is winds up around 85 outside of that little small area we're tracking for the tornadic side of things. Go back up here northwest Oklahoma real quick. Again, Wichita, south of you guys, here in southern Kansas, a little storm up there for you. Let's see, this stuff here in northwest Oklahoma, just it's all kind of gone. This old circulation around Bremen, just not much what it was. These guys up here never really did much. Garber, same thing for you. So looking good up here. I know you were under tornado warnings, but as far as the strength of anything is concerned on radar, it was very, very low. So there really wasn't much concern as far as anything significant. Whereas we did have a very significant tornado going through southeast side of the metro, so we did most definitely had to cover that one. There's a lot of people getting hit on that one. All right, let's go. Power flashes reported near mile marker 123 on I-40. That's near Shawnee. So if you look here, these winds in orange is 86 miles per hour. This is going northwest of Shawnee. So this is on the northwest side of town, heading up toward I-40. This little orange area here, again, that's all. It's around 95 there. Dale, this little pixel is 115 miles per hour. Let's switch over to this guy here so we can see that as well. So there you go, 70, 80. This little spot here on on Highway 3. And let's see here, that is 270 West MacArthur and 339. So that's where that's located, that little spot of wind. Otherwise, the rest of the wind is kind of peppered around State Highway 270 and 40 and west of 177. This little boundary back out here toward Highway Drive, West Chet Road. Again, these little areas here up around 120 miles per hour. So keep in mind that even if the tornado diminished, what it kind of did was allow a gateway from the middle levels of the atmosphere to come through the lower levels into the surface and hit the ground. So it was kind of a funneling mechanism, if you will, to get some of these stronger winds to come down to the surface. So anyway, so we treat this like a tornado at this point in time still. Kind of the north end of Shawnee along I-40, this little intersection where winds are just doing a lot of damage. We can go and look at the, let's see, we'll go here in this area. So along this path, you do have a lot of farmland and tree land, that's peppered with a lot of these little communities, these little housing additions. So there still are lots of people in the path of this particular straight line wind damage and also potential tornado damage. Let's go look at the cross correlation coefficient. Let's see if we have any debris signatures aloft. Again, these yellow areas up around 100 plus miles per hour. So what we have is this whole area, like it is this large area all peppered in here. It's just all debris getting kicked around from strong straight line winds and even possibly even from a leftover tornado that still may be there. Looks like reports of a tornado that crossed over I-40. So again, this area is still going strong with debris still being kind of lofted around in the sky. Let's see here. We have this guy here is probably the new tornado that came in. It started here, this is debris signature, and then blew up right across here. And it would have hit these trees more than likely, and just clip this little business development here on the left side, this little industry. Let's see. So that's probably going to be our new tornado. Yep, it just moved north. Again, this is on Highway South Road 18, State Highway 18, and then coming up on East Wolverine Road. So that would be where this little tornado that did so. And it is moving fast because the data can't even keep up with it. But yeah, this little guy right here on the northern fringe, that was another QLCS type tornado. There's a little debris ball with it on the reflectivity to coincide with it. So again, this was kind of formed on the far northern fringe of Shawnee, right along I-40, and then jumped across the highway, the interstate. Let me see, anything else? No. Okay. All right, so we had a lot of those yellow areas a minute ago, and those have kind of since calmed down a bit. They're back down to the orange, which is again around 80 to close to 90 miles per hour. When you get these little yellow areas up around 100 or more, and we had a lot more of them. Let's see, if you go back right here, let's look at all these yellow areas that happened. So it was just another resurgence of wind in this zone. So the Weather Service will issue a new tornado warning for areas around Garber. All right. Okay, so we still have some leftover wind with this, but the tightness and strength of that little tornado that happened for just about 2 minutes is gone. So we're back to the transient, quick, short-lived, smaller tornadoes that don't last as long. Not with that one that lasted for quite a while as it moved in through the southeast part of the metro. So things have changed a little bit with that regard in this area. We're still keep the tornado warning going. Leftover circulation center here is southeast of Meeker by about 4 miles roughly between there and Johnson. Looks like the last known circulation center here is over Hazeldale Road and Brangus Road. Hazeldale Road and Brangus is the last known location of the wall cloud and likely a funnel, if not still residual tornadic circulation. Let's see. Data's a little messy, so it kind of hides the center of the circulation. So we have to make an assumption until cleaner data comes in. Okay, so the newer data is kind of coming underneath this purple, which is just noise that just gets in there and contaminates. So we do have still this color scale difference in this area. So it looks like we have a resurgence of the tornado underneath this range folded zone. All right, so we're going to switch radar views to a different one, see if we can't get that cleaned up. All right, so we're at Meeker, Twin Lakes. So this is the debris signature here that we're tracking that moved in this vicinity and now moved in this vicinity. So it's shifted north. So it's 1, 2, 3 miles southeast of Meeker. It's on the county line and coming up on North Road 3450. It's between there and North Road 3440. So that's where this potential continuing tornado is going to be. Radar still indicates that it could still be on the ground. Doesn't have it as strong on the signature for the radar side of things, but it still has a debris signature with it. It's a little dispersed in my opinion, so I'm leaning more toward the fact that it's probably lifted, but there's still a decent circulation center there, so it definitely would be a wall cloud. It would definitely be a funnel, more than likely. But regardless, if you're southeast of Meeker, stay in your shelter till that moves past. Again, you're under the only tornado warning left here in central Oklahoma. Well, this new one popped up. This is the one I mentioned earlier. That was going to get triggered. Let me see if there's anything with this on the data around Pauls Valley. Let's see. Let's go back. So that one was just issued. And all right, that's strange. Oh, okay. The Weather Service, they had to pick a spot to trigger it, and so they picked back here because that was the closest thing in their system to draw it. Because I was like, wait a minute, there's nothing over here. I was like, why did they do that? So they just explained themselves. They got to act fast. They don't have time to nitpick stuff. All right, so anyway, they're looking at this little weak circulation center that's east of Paoli and Pauls Valley, right here, and potential that it could develop. So that's why they're just being proactive. There's nothing there yet, but it might be. So they're going to get on top of it. This little kind of a hook back echo here you see here, coming in south of Byers. Intersection, this one is 1510, East Road 1510, and Hines Lane is where this one is at. All right, further down the line, let's see what else we got. A lot of enhanced reflectivity around Davis, like really strong cells. But it's just a strong thunderstorm at this point. For you guys down here, some hail probably embedded within that. Probably has picked up a little bit better instability. Temperatures down here are 70 over 61, so much more unstable in the surface boundary. Here's 70 over 63, so that's probably why these guys are going a little more nuts on the strong storm side. All right, let's see. Probability of a tornado is at 35% on this little trigger. The one up here, of course, says 12%, and this is actually the one that was doing the tornado. I must stop using these things. These things are jokes. They don't work out that well. Fake news. Okay, so let's see here. This circulation center, like I mentioned earlier, like it was weakening to me, and it still is. Like I don't even see anything left with it. This is the leftover debris path that's just kind of floating around in the atmosphere. Just, what came up and just kind of just getting dispersed with the strong winds. So there's no core of blue areas, which would indicate an active tornado. So that one kind of diminished, which is fine with me. If you live east of Meeker on 82, you still have some pockets of wind with this. You still have some flying debris in the air. But Trident signature is gone. Now, we could obviously have another one that forms. We'll see. This one down here in Prague, south of you guys, east of Johnson. Maybe something will happen with that. Nothing now, though. All right, we're kind of in a lull with this guy. So nothing's really ongoing there. I guess we can go back down south and see if there's anything trying to get going with this one around Byers. There's still a little notch here, but I've seen way better. So just watching at this point. I don't see anything that would say anything about imminent tornado. We'll zoom down here with this one, take a look. Yeah, they're all the same. The location of right along highway, was it 132 down here? I can't see my state on that one. Let's go to this one. Maybe I can see on this one. Yeah, 132. Or 139. That's what I can't even read that myself. 133. All right, that's highway 133. intersection just north of 19, Highway 19. And let's see, East Road 1510. So that's the location of this little notch in the sky, which could try to produce a tornado. So that'll be coming up on East Road 1500 as 139 kind of curls off to the northeast there.
TVS cell detected.
So we still have a tornado warning up here in northern Oklahoma. So let me go take a look at that one real quick. No, not much about this one either. The little circulation is just coming on the south end of Tonkawa. You guys can stay in your shelters there. West Oakland Road and South Road 29th Street. That's the location that it's centered at. Right now it's kind of like more of just a straight line wind deal. This is wind speeds around 60 miles per hour. Now passing through 77, coming up on South Road 13th and Oakland Road. So kind of passing the south side of town. So a little bit of pocket of straight line winds. I didn't see any tornadic signature that was strong enough to be concerning. Don't see any debris signature. So standard strong wind thunderstorm moving through. But again, the tornado warning remains in effect. So stay in your shelters. Guys in Ponca City, this circulation center will approach your area, maybe passing on the northwest side of town. So it could increase in intensity or strength. So just kind of keep that in mind. It'll be coming up along Highway 60. Coming in, so keep an eye on that. Interesting enough, probability of a tornado for this one is 66%. I'm going to stop using this because this is ridiculous. These things don't work at all. Let's see, 70-mile-per-hour winds are reported up there in southern Kansas. So just pockets of wind everywhere. All right, let's go back down south. Let's see what we got in our backyard again. Davis, that hail went through. Probably had some good wind with it. Anything else catching my eye? Let's see, what's this stuff out here? Junk. So that circulation center is passed on by south of Byers. Actually just passing through. Doesn't have anything with it yet, tornadic wise. All right, what else we got? Let's go take a look up here. So this storm that's coming out of Prague, let's see if anything is redeveloped. All right, so we have a broad general circulation here. Very weak, very diffuse. Weather Service highlighted it here in yellow as the center part. So we go back one scan, it's gone. The current scan, here it is. So to be proactive, I'll put the track on it for that. So you guys again be in your shelters between Payton and Boley. Just know that right now the radar has a very weak circulation area, but probably a wall cloud type deal, but nothing tornadic yet. And it may not, but that's the center that it's highlighted on for right now. So you guys be in your shelters there till the next half an hour till this thing moves on by. Okay. What else we got? I still don't see any debris signature on the radar. Wonder what my wind gust here at the house was. It may have reset. Let's see, because we are... No, there it is. 53. Can you see that right there? It's at a peak wind gust of 53 miles per hour here at the house. And that was when that tornado warning storm went by, but it didn't have a tornado anymore with it. It was just some wind, some rain. I got, 3 or 4 power bumps, so the UPS has worked really good. Lights stayed on, so we kept going. Stream stayed up. That's good. All right, let's go back here. Let's see. So right now we're just focused on this storm system around Prague. Now, notice in these storm environments, I don't pay much attention to the general thunderstorms that are out there. I look for something to catch my eye, which is either A, horrendous size hail, B, winds in excess of 70, 80 miles per hour, and then of course tornadoes. So I'm really kind of looking for tornadoes in this case with that. So we have 2 areas to watch. This one here, the one up here in northwest Oklahoma or northern Oklahoma, Ponca City. Let's see here. See, everything's changed. That little notch is right here coming in. Let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles east of Tonkawa and about the same west of you, Ponca City. And this is still a weak couplet circulation. Let's see if there's been any change in strength. Not really, kind of steady. No debris signature with it. So we will continue to watch this one. You gotta stay in your shelters out there in Ponca City, just to be safe. All right, let's go back down to Prague area. Let's see, let's do this one up here. Anything? No. Okay. All right, we'll put that one on that one. This one, I'll probably put this one here so I can monitor this 2 ways. So still watching that area east of Byers right now. It's just a convoluted mess. All right, let's see. Now we'll go back to the Prague area and Payton. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so this circulation south of Prague, between this scan here and this one and this one and this one, has increased just a little bit. So we're probably back to a tornado situation, but there's still no debris signature in this area yet, but that's pretty good ramp up on the velocity couplet. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably a tornado at this point. Very weak, maybe, but it's out there. Let's see, what is this on? Highway 62. So halfway between Payton and Prague, just east, looks like of the county line, between Okfuskee, on the west side of Okfuskee County. So that's our little tornado that we have here. Looks like it's developed. Wind speeds on this about 97 outbound, 72 inbound. So yeah, I'd go ahead and call that a tornado. Let me see what this is showing us so I can maybe show this to you. Let's go over here. Okay. So this has now pressed east on 62, around Payton area. Wind speeds up around 80 miles per hour, so they've come down. So according to this, it has weakened somewhat. Let me see if the couplet's still there on my other view. Let's see this guy here. Yeah, it kind of fell apart. We've got a new one developing down here that's trying to get going. Yeah. So we'll see if the new one gets going. The old one fell apart, and I don't see anything significant damage-wise. All right, so we'll see what happens in these two spots. The other one here is, I guess, on the south end of 62 and 90 or 3640 intersection. The other one here is just on the northwest side of Payton. All right, so the new scan came in. This one lifts north of Payton, and this other one is passing south of Boley. Again, very weak. I'm not too concerned yet. This one here in Payton, it's actually weaker than it was and more broad. So I'm not really sold that that's on the ground, but it does have wind with it. This little pocket here, let's see, right, base velocity is what I want. 78. Let's go to this one. Let's see if this is showing up. Yeah, there's 77. There's 80, 86 miles per hour. So you're still going to have a little bit of straight line winds within this. Looks like even though the circulation center is probably falling apart for now, it could pick back up, but that's what it is. Let's go back to Ponca City. All right. So you guys have been in your shelters. Let's see what's happened with the leftover circulation center from Tonkawa. All right, it's just still...
TVS cell detected.
It's falling apart, and it's still up around, 1, 2, 3 miles outside of town on North U Street and West Highland Avenue. So passing to your northwest. And it's just, there's not anything really with it. There's no damage with it. So just leftover circulation. Stay in your shelters, though, until it passes, just to play it safe. But just what you can breathe much easier, knowing that the radar data is very benign at this point. You're probably still going to get some wind with it, though. I mean, there's wind even in Ponca City without the storm. You got winds already up around 50 miles an hour. Let's see here. Here's a little pocket of wind. Let's see. That's up around 57. That's South W Street, just south of Highway 11 by a couple miles. Little circulation center here, coming in on the west side of Ponca City, North Ranch Drive and West Industrial Boulevard. We'll see if this thing does anything. So stay in your shelters if you live in Ponca City for another few more minutes. As always, every time I do these live broadcasts, I reinforce the bottom of the screen, the differences between severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings and what you're supposed to do. That way you always have the information, because a lot of people, come and go here in Oklahoma. And if they're not used to this weather, they don't know what to make of it. That always sets you straight. But when we're always talking about tornadoes as the center part of the home or business, lowest floor, and away from all the outside walls and windows. All right, so Ponca City, you're getting the wind moving through. This little weak circulation center is moving through town as we speak on the north side of town. Stay in your shelters until it passes. It'll be the track here, takes it through Waverly Street and what is this? West Prospect Avenue. And then eventually here over 77, and then probably crossing over North Pecan Road and East Hubbard Road. Do you say pecans or do you say pecan? I say pecan, but apparently people do say pecan. Anyway, so you'll get some gusty winds within this, and let's see, what's the time on that? Yeah, we're waiting for another update to come in here, probably about a minute. And we'll see if there's anything with this circulation that may have increased in intensity or not. Somebody's Ring doorbell got a picture of a tornado. That's not something you want to see on your Ring doorbell, is it? All right, so there's the latest update with Ponca City area. So you do have winds still up around 50 plus miles per hour. The circulation center is passed off to your north and continues to be diffuse. So anything there is probably just kind of maybe a lowering or wall clouds. About all you're going to get out of that. That's good news for you guys. Just stay in your shelter until it's all over with. All right. Okay, so we'll come back and check on you guys later. Let's go back south. Let's see what we got here. Anything? All right. The warning continues around the Kanawha region, but the look to it was the same as it was before, which was benign. Still stay in your shelters, though. Go back up here to the guy that moved out of the Prague and Boley area. Let's see, it's up around, looks like a Welty. Alright, so this is all falling apart too. Okay, there's still residual circulation center here. So in other words, you might have a lowering or something, but like a wall cloud type deal, but that's about it. Even the winds have come down substantially in that area. Strongest winds are south of you, south of Okima through Holdenville, Ada, Kanawha, in that little sweet spot. So let's see. Weather Service will keep, will issue a new warning. Looks like for Pontotoc County. This is for Ada. So they're going to issue a tornado warning for Ada. So this must have been based off of some visual report down there of something, because radar-wise, there's nothing there. Could just be a protective warning. All right, so we have these two tornado warnings, which there's no tornado warning on radar at any one of these, but to be prudent, stay in your shelters. Kanawha, I mispronounced that last time. What was it? You guys have butchered me. I know you're angry. I mispronounced your town name. I hadn't seen that town name in so long until it was the last time I did storm coverage, and then I was like, oh no. How do you say that one? I was like, I'm going to get it wrong. And I forgot all about it to go and find out how to say it the right way. So now I just won't say it. I'll just point to it on the map. You guys know. All right. Let's see. Okay. So watching this little area of the line of some straight line winds, probably going through Ada.
Severe hail detected.
That's about it. So I'm at the point, I'm getting pretty close to signing off. Not because it went east of me, but because over the last, 20 minutes, we haven't had a tornado. And from what I see on the look of these things, I'm not sure we're going to get another one. Something have to change. Some big hail though down here in Hickory. See this wide area? Algorithm's up to around 2 inches in diameter. So between Hickory and Fitztown, you guys can get some pretty good hail. Let's take a look. Since you was down here. Alright, there's our hail core. It's only up around 30,000 feet at most. Alright. So some hail down there. Okay, let me switch one more radar view. Maybe there's a different one that'll show me something. Nope. All right. I'm beginning to think this is shutting down as far as anything tornadic goes. And at this point in time, there's going to be pockets of wind. You might still get a freak QLCS type tornado out of this for the remainder of the next 2 hours before it exits the state. But just they're having a tough time. I think just because the atmosphere down here is so capped that we looked at the data. So not surprising. Let's go up here to the north. Let's see. Let's check on you guys again. I don't see anything up here either. All right, so we officially have 1, 2, 3, 4 tornado warnings in effect. And as far as the radar is concerned, not a single one of them has a tornado currently on radar. But as I always say, never discredit or discount a tornado warning. Always seek shelter until the warning is either expired or they cancel it, one or the other. So what I do for you is I go and I look to see, okay, we got the warning. Do we have anything that goes with it right now? And we look for little areas that can cause some problems. So this little spot here has got my eye around Call City, little circulation, or little round feature here on the reflectivity. Doesn't have much in the way of the velocity yet. I'll see if it does anything in the next few minutes. Let's go back down south toward Ada. No. I know you guys are sounding the sirens down there in Ada. And I'm not sure why. Unless I missed something. There's no report of a tornado. Nothing was sighted. There was nothing on radar. So I will tell you guys this, that each town / city has their own kind of emergency management group. And there's really no cohesive method of issuing sirens. They're all kind of how they want to do it. So, you know, there's no set standard, in other words. I will tell you this also is that never depend on sirens to save your life. They are the last minute use of a notice that, hey, there is either a tornado in the area or there's potential tornado in the area. So if you're using that for your notice, you're going to be late to the party. You want to make sure you either have a no weather radio or you have a weather app like mine, AT's Weather to Go. That'll give you advance notice and warning. You can watch me obviously like this when we go live. But those warnings, those sirens aren't really made to be heard indoors. They're mainly for outdoor use. And you have no idea where it is when you do hear one. It's somewhere. It could be 30 miles away, and your siren could be going off. All right, so let me see. Anything here? Nope. I'm about to shut this down, I believe. One more time up here.
TVS cell detected.
Ah, you lied to me. I looked. All right, let's go to Ponca City area. No, everything good there too. All right, that's it. I've given about 25 minutes. There's been no tornadoes and there's nothing in those warnings. So again, stay in your shelters though. If you are under an official tornado warning, I'll kind of look back here for a little bit. The atmosphere is having a hard time producing anything at this point because everything's kind of weakening slowly, which again is going along right with the high resolution models that we had. So the focus now, of course, will be news station wise, will be on the damage that was had, and they'll focus heavily on the southeast side of the metro around Norman, Goldsby area, and then to kind of, because we have some pretty good strong trying to go through that area. So we'll see how that looks in the morning or at night, and we'll see what the Weather Service has listed for the damage survey. But that was about it. So this was a early preview of our severe weather season. Came in a little early. Had it come in, the latter part of March or April or May, boy, we'd be in trouble. But luckily, it came in the latter part of February after we had a nice little Arctic intrusion, and that cleared the dew point values and the temperatures all the way down south into Texas and replaced it with dry air, colder air, denser air. And it took us 3 days to try to moderate that stuff. And on the fourth day, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday was here. On the fourth day, Sunday, it finally started to release its grip. And the atmosphere started to recover. Too little, too late. So the limiting factor for this event was the same, which was the deep, rich moisture was late getting here by the time the storm system was kicking out for one. And that did not allow enough destabilization in the lower levels of the atmosphere, so it's more stability. That also helped to keep the cap stronger, which means the storms couldn't get surface-based in some cases, which limited the widespread severe wind reports and what would have been a really nasty tornado outbreak. We had a few tornadoes out there tonight. We would have had a lot more and a lot more strong ones had that air mass not been here that we had to recover from. So I'm thankful for that. So that's the latest. That's what we got. Like I said, I'm gonna get out of here for now. Unless something changes, I don't anticipate coming back on. But I do appreciate you guys watching tonight, sending me stars on Facebook and YouTube, super chats, and telling your friends and family about AT's weather and how they can get weather information, nice, calm, cool, collected. I can put you to sleep. You just close your eyes, sit back, and go, okay, I got this. Usually when it gets into a populated area, like on the south side of town, we had two areas, southwest Oklahoma City and down around Norman. It can get a little hairy. So in those cases, it's a lot of city, street corners, blocks by block on the tracking of it so that you know where it is. And then let's see. Otherwise, we tell you to shelter, take shelter till it's over. I think the strongest tornado that we had was the one that I saw on radar anyway, when it was on the southeast side of Norman, between there and around Pink, I think it was, north of there. I think we had winds of around 125 miles per hour. So we had probably at least an EF2 tornado go through at least parts of town. And that other one that hit the southwest side of town, it was at least probably an EF1 on the data from that point as well. So that's what we've got here so far. Again, guys, thanks. Appreciate it. There's going to be some power outages out there, obviously. In some areas, I took 4 or 5 power bumps, managed to stay on, so the UPS systems kept me going, and I didn't lose my Cox internet, so thanks, Cox. And we'll do this again off and on throughout the next couple months. Through middle of June is when this season lasts. So if you're new here from out of state, you're wondering how long do we have to put up with this mess? You usually get a few systems each month. Yeah, and I mean, tell you what, some months is pretty quiet. I think in last couple of years, we actually had kind of a short season. We didn't have much going, and which is fine by me, but it was relatively quiet, for big tornadoes or anything. We haven't had like a violent tornado here in a long time, so let's keep it that way. I think we're at about our 10-year anniversary of seeing a violent tornado, and they usually happen about every 10 years. So if you want to look at it that way, I guess technically we're due, but in statistics, the we're due, quote unquote, never pays out. So you go to try to put the stock market on there or put a bet, say we're due, usually doesn't turn out too well. But in theory, if you go by cyclical trends, yeah, there's some truth to that. So we'll see what happens for this season. But that's about it for now. I'm going to sign off, and like I said, I'll take a look at it here and there. But I think that might be it for tonight when it comes to tornadoes. And at this point, pockets of wind will still be up around 60 miles per hour. But they should, not get any higher than that as we go later in the evening. Should continue to hold or get a little weaker with time. So that's it for me. You guys have been great. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next broadcast.